Well, at least I'm thin. Good morning, and welcome to Ben and Woods. Usually the first voice you hear on this program is that of my good friend and colleague, Stephen Woods. He is off today. We knew this was going to happen. Planned for a long time.
Must be
enjoying
nice.
some family vacation time up in Laguna, and well-deserved, well-earned. But I do feel like today is finally the karmic payback for me from the 2021 trade deadline specifically. Paulie, you remember, let me introduce our executive producer and today stepping up into an even larger co-host role as well, Paul Reindl. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning.
You remember that day. I was on one of my several vacations, that one up in Washington State, ironically enough, where the Padres just were last night. I was up Eastern Washington on vacation with my family when the Max Scherzer, Trey Turner trade news breaking, looked like the Padres were getting Max Scherzer, and all of a sudden it gets yanked away from them, and Dodgers end up getting him, and I wasn't there for you guys, and I apologize for that. Today feels like the
Left us
karmic
in the trenches taking grenades.
retribution, because today I am here and Woodsy is not here. Maybe one day, Paul, you'll be off when one of these things happen, and you'll get your day where you get to skip it all. But it is all coming crashing down on me today. Good morning, everybody. Oh, this is as tough of a Thursday as I can remember in a while. It's good to have everybody with us on Ben and Woods this morning. We will obviously get into last night's. I thought, for me at least, I know a lot of Padres fans, had already made up their mind about this team a while ago, that they weren't going to do anything. And I know I have always been of the more optimistic bent. You know, I look at the numbers, I look at the run differential, I look at the players and their track records. I look at Bob Melvin, what he's done in the past, and I always thought, yeah, I mean, they've had some bad breaks. Sure, they haven't played that well, but they're going to turn this around. They're going to figure this out. They went to the NLCS last year. They're going to figure it out. Last night for me was finally the straw that broke the camel's back, the sea change that, I've come to a different realization about this team, and we will get to that this morning as we discuss it. I will also say, some of you out there, and I don't think it's necessarily a lot of the key tier ones, some of you out there are real mean, especially on social media. I felt like I got the brunt of the anger and disappointment from a lot of Padres fans last night on my Twitter feed, and it was nasty. It got really nasty last night.
You walked in this morning. Good morning, Ben. First thing you said, wow, people are mean.
People are something. They can get
What'd
mean.
you do?
What is it? What is it? Woods always says anger is the combination of fear and disappointment, or what is the saying that he's brought up a couple of times?
Something like that, yeah.
But people are angry. They had their expectations raised with good reason, by the way. There was no reason not to have your expectations raised by the San Diego Padres team. You put that kind of investment, you put those kind of players on the field with that kind of track record coming off a trip to the NLCS, you absolutely should have had your expectations sky high this season. No one made a mistake by raising their expectations. I don't think we did by getting everybody excited. I don't think the Padres did by hyping up this season. I don't think fans did by buying up season tickets and creating a waiting list. You were absolutely justified in being incredibly excited about this Padres season before it started. So when the reality hits you, I understand that the disappointment is as severe as we've ever seen in this town maybe over a sports team. I mean, there were some really disappointing Charger seasons in the past. I don't know if anything rose to the level of how disappointing this Padres season has been so far.
Yeah,
correct?
I mean, Chargers didn't go out and get, Jerry Rice, Joe Montana, acquire all of these superstars and have all of the hype and the Super Bowl expectations and blah, 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 blah. It's weird. It's Charger-esque in the sense
It is.
that they're finding new ways to break our hearts. And what was Woodsy's tweet? kick us in the proverbial nuts.
Different way every single day.
Hey, Emerson Hancock, welcome to the big leagues. Here's your first date with Manny Machado, Juan Soto, Fernando Tatis Jr. What does he do? He shoves.
Did he? I don't even know. We'll talk about it. I'm not sure that
Two
that
hits
Emerson
through 5 innings.
I'm not sure that Emerson Hancock. I thought Logan Gilbert. I gave him credit the day before, but I said on the show yesterday. I said if the Padres can't do something tonight, I am going to come with a different tone this morning, and I absolutely something changed in me last night as well. And we're going to take some phone calls today. I've already seen people in our chat. Be careful with those phone lines today. Hey, I am expecting spiciness. I'm expecting a lot of people who want the manager fired, the general manager fired, players to be benched. That is an appropriate response after what we saw last night and what we heard out of the Padres clubhouse last night. And I know this isn't foreplay this morning.
I think it's warranted.
I don't really have any foreplay, anything fun to talk about. It was a pretty miserable day yesterday all around. We talked a little bit about it during the show yesterday, seeing some of the horrific images coming out of Maui, which what a
you guys want to talk about that instead?
Tragic scene. Our family's friends,
horrible.
Their restaurant burned down, Chemo's in Lahaina, as did most of that town. That's where Shelly and I went on our honeymoon. All those memories of being there. And
I saw so many people, like on Instagram, posting pictures of their vacations, all like within the last 6 months. It seems like they're like, I was just there 2 weeks ago. This is heartbreaking.
Yeah, I was there last year, and that big banyan tree, 150-year-old tree that. I think there's still some hope. I know it got scorched. They don't know if it's going to make it or not, but they're just devastating scenes. I mean, it was just a miserable day yesterday.
To read stories of people having to literally retreat into the ocean to save themselves is just horrifying. I can't even wrap my head around it.
So very, very sad. And I see the death toll has climbed to at least 36. Just a horrific story out of Maui, somewhere that's supposed to be a paradise, and you go and you relax and you get away from things. To see just what's going on there is terrible. So not really in much of a good mood to begin with to start the day, and then you have to go through that Padres game last night. But we will talk about some of the things that were said after the game as well by Manny Machado and Juan Soto had some comments. He had some comments that sound like some of the angriest tweeters that I've seen over the last few weeks after the game.
When I saw what Juan Soto said, I had to check the calendar. It's 2023. It is not 2021 August. Okay, just making sure, because there are a lot of similarities already to what happened in 2021.
If you flicked it off last night, before the end, and certainly wouldn't blame anyone once the Padres gave up 5 in the bottom of the 8th inning. Don't think anyone had any hopes of a 6-run comeback. And if you couldn't stomach another post-game show with Sammy last night or on television, I don't blame you at all. And you just went to bed. You probably don't know that there was a 20-minute closed-door players meeting. You like to see that, but the Padres have done that, I think, 4 times this year. Hasn't done a darn thing to change the direction of this team this year.
Feels like 2021.
Yeah. And then the comments that came out, we'll hear from Manny Machado. We'll talk about what Juan Soto and Xander Bogaerts had to say after the game as well. But for me, there was a flip last night. And I am, as you know, I am the optimist of the group. It's not fake either. I know people think I get accused a lot of being a shill because I work for the flagship station. I'd be a homer and an optimist if I worked for any station or if I wasn't on the radio at all. That's just how I am. I'm a Padres fan, lifelong Padres fan. You always want to think that, things are about to turn, things are about to get better. And there were plenty of at least logical reasons why I could have thought that over the course of this season. But now looking back and the fact that this team hasn't turned it around, I have to acknowledge that last year's run to the National League Championship Series, while enjoyable, that was the fluke. That was the aberration to what this team has been over the last several years, maybe all the way back to, maybe back to the start of franchise history, really, for the San Diego Padres, with a couple of exceptions, 84, 98, a couple of good runs. This has been the constant for a San Diego Padres team, that they just cannot get it figured out. Different GMs, different managers, different ownership. The constant has unfortunately been one of a lack of success for this team. And now that I look back, I realize, and I'm going to stick with this because I think yesterday really did change something for me, Paul. Even if the Padres did start playing better right now, day off, come back, Arizona, sweep the Diamondbacks, go on a run, even if they made the playoffs right now, which is, by the way, not completely out of the question. They're 4.5 games out with 47 to play. It's not like teams couldn't erase that deficit. But even if they do, it does not erase what we saw this season, what we saw for much of last season in August and September when the team was spinning its wheels over and over again, what we saw in 2021, the once-in-a-century collapse. 2020 looks like an aberration as well. Short season, we all throw that out the window. Doesn't mean anything at all. 2019, 2018, everything that happened before it. That is who the San Diego Padres, I guess, are. And there obviously needs to be some reevaluation from the top down in this organization. And I don't know whether it is, I'm not going to just sit here and say, fire this guy, fire that guy, fire everybody. But they absolutely need to take a step back from Peter Seidler down to AJ Preller, down to Bob Melvin and his coaching staff, down to the players, down to the minor leagues, everything about the organization. This offseason should be evaluated with a critical eye. And if anything, and this is my message to Peter Seidler today, if he happens to be listening. I think Peter Seidler doesn't necessarily need to fire people. He needs to hire someone. He needs, whatever you want to call him, president, special assistant to the owner, someone from outside, someone who has no affiliation with the Padres.
Not a former player.
Not a former player, not someone, not a buddy, anything like that. Someone who has known baseball and had success in baseball to come in, maybe even temporarily, and just basically evaluate your organization top to bottom with a critical eye and no holds barred. Evaluate your general manager, your coaching staff, your player development squad, your training, everything you do. Evaluate it with a critical eye and try to figure out what's going on. Because the one thing that is abundantly clear to me after this season, and especially last night, is that the San Diego Padres don't have any idea what is going on and what is wrong. They don't know. And maybe that's the worst thing of all. If you knew what it was and you go, hey, we made this mistake, we're going to need to fix it. We made that mistake, we need to fix it going forward.
So-and-so got hurt, can't really do much about that.
No, they shake their heads every single day. The players shrug and go, we don't know what's going on. The manager goes, I don't know what's going on. I don't understand why we're not playing better. Everybody has no idea what it is. I mean, fans have ideas. They think it's the manager. They think players don't have enough heart. They're not. I don't know. They don't know. Nobody knows. And it's up to Peter Seidler, who is the owner of this team and has done, an absolutely incredible thing of what he has done, investing into the product. It's his investment. He needs to demand some answers and figure out how it is. And he's not getting them from anyone who is employed by the team right now. There's no answers coming out of that organization at this moment. So find someone. Go out and hire someone.
Peter,
that
Peter,
can figure it out.
If you're listening, Peter, you have done everything we have ever asked as fans of an owner. We praised your name yesterday. You are one in a million as far as sports owners go. You're kind. You want to win. You put your money where your mouth is.
I agree.
Et cetera, et cetera. You have stepped up for this city. You have stepped up for this fan base. We need you to step up one more time. At least one more time.
Maybe the hardest thing you have ever done coming up here. Because I know it goes against everything that he is. He is a nice guy, and he believes in the people that he has hired. And that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. But maybe the hardest thing is you're going to have to step back and really critically evaluate everything under you. Let's take time out. We're going to come back. I want to hear what Padres fans have to say. No Woods here. It means a little more speaking time for everybody. 833-288-0973 if you want to join us. See you on the YouTube chat. Appreciate everybody who's gotten up this morning. Not an easy morning to get up and come into work. If you're a Padres fan, if you're me, if you're Paulie, if you're anybody. So extra appreciation to the tier ones who are here this morning. Ben and Woods will be back after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
The boss, right?
Yeah, kind of the boss, but the boss light just a little bit. This is who is this, Paulie?
You tell me this is not Bruce Springsteen?
No. The theme this week is on our daily ditty. Songs that you thought were by one artist and later found out, no, they're by someone else entirely. Woods chose the theme, and this is actually his contribution before he left on vacation. So this is not Bruce Springsteen at all, despite the very obvious and apparent similarity.
Hey, little girl's dead at home. It sounds just like him. Typically when somebody goes on vacation, we skip them for their daily ditty so we can talk about it here in house. We actually just do that with you, I think, all the time.
Well, I don't mind
on your many vacations.
But Woods, the daily ditty.
Woods has been hyping this one up all week.
Woods driven, so we wanted to make sure. So who is this?
It was his stupid theme. He goes, I got a banger for you guys on Thursday. I won't be here, but this is On the Dark Side by John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band.
John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band doing their best Springsteen impression this morning on our daily ditty. Welcome back. Coming up this morning on our Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline, Craig Elsten will join us at 7:35. Day early this week.
So let's recap our Craig Elsten appearances over the last few weeks. I think 2 times ago that we had him on, he was done. The Padres had broken him. It was the loss to Pittsburgh in the third game against Pittsburgh that he came on the next day and was like, I'm done. Last week, feeling a little more optimistic. Things have changed. Starting to turn the corner. Got a feeling we're going to go back to that first week. Craig this morning.
I do as well. Craig never holds back. Something I've always appreciated about him. Eno Sarris will be with us at 8:35, our smart baseball segment. I mean, if Eno can't figure out the Padres, I don't know who can. This is the smartest guy we have on each week. All of our guests appear on the Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. Save money the right way with Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Visit them today in the Carlsbad Auto Mall. Chevrolet, find new roads. Going to take your phone calls as well. Got some people on the line already. We'll get to those in just a minute. Got to get to this quote, though. So Padres lose last night 6-1 after the game. Closed the doors for about 20 minutes. Team meeting, another one. Has been done before. Hasn't really had any impact on the team of the previous ones as far as I've noticed. And then the media goes in. AJ Cassavell, Kevin Acee. Talk about one of the roughest losses of the season. And we'll hear from Manny Machado coming up in our next segment. But it's this quote by Juan Soto that fans who were up late last night were talking about. He said, we've got to play as a team. We've got to go out there, grind every day, grind every at-bat. It's been really inconsistent. Some days we do. Some days we don't. We got to do it every day. Days like this series, we just give up. Like literally, we just give up instead of keep grinding, keep pushing. We've got to forget about yesterday and keep moving. I saw people obviously upset when they heard that. You've got guys who are getting paid 8 figures on this team. 8 figures. And there are people, top people like Juan Soto, who are now admitting that, the team just gives up from time to time. They just give up.
So you and Woods got into it a little bit yesterday about effort.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
I think this is a point for Team Woods.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, now that you're here, I said, I haven't heard one thing directly from any player or any coach. The team, Bob Melvin talked about they need to take better at-bats all the way through games. Obviously, consistency has been a huge issue throughout the season.
Sure.
But this is the first time you get a player who just says, we just give up sometimes. And I saw some people praising Juan Soto. Hey, at least he has the integrity to come out and say it and be honest about it. Because it's hard to avoid the fact that whatever you want to call it, it's clear that the Padres don't bring it every single day. Are they thinking they can coast on talent some days? Do they not feel like the rules apply to them? Like they can just go up there and, I'm good enough. My batting average, my career numbers are good enough that I'll go up here and I'm just going to, put barrel on the ball and everything's going to be fine. It's not working. And Juan Soto acknowledged that yesterday. Now, is that on the manager? Is that on the players themselves? I think that is something you can still debate. to me, that it's the players that it's on. You go up there and grind. The manager isn't in the batter's box with you. They're not standing up there and making you, hey, you got to focus in a little bit more on this at bat. You can't say anything to a guy who's, if they have lost hope. And to me, that's what that quote was. There are days where the Padres just go up there and you can see it, that they feel like nothing's going right for us and we've lost hope. And they don't, for whatever reason, they don't compete the way that they should. I think that's what Juan Soto is talking about here. Padres don't compete every night the way they should. And I think that's been clear throughout the season. Now, have they given up? Do they put in effort? Do they put in work behind the scenes? I know that they do. I absolutely know that they do. We've seen it with our own eyes. Very hardworking players behind the scenes. But are they competing between the lines and in that batter's box every single night and every single at bat? It is clear that they are not every single time. Sometimes absolutely they do, as Juan Soto said, but sometimes they do not. And that's definitely been one of the bigger issues of this season. All right, we got some callers already on the line. Stay there. We're going to take one more timeout, come back with our Padres wrap-up. Believe me, it won't take long to go through the highlights. Got a Cal Raleigh home run and one or two other plays. That's it. We'll get to some phone calls. We'll hear from Manny Machado. We have the audio from the clubhouse of what Manny had to say as well. Unacceptable is where you start, but that's just the beginning. We will get to all of that coming up. Do not go away. More Ben and Woods on the way on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. It isn't boring. No, it's not. It can be
I guess that's true.
Agonizing, torturous, occasionally exhilarating. Join Rob Bradford on his podcast, Baseball Isn't Boring. Every day, Rob takes you through the league and spotlights what makes the game fun. Talks with players, managers, GMs, and reporters who all shine a light on America's pastime. Follow Baseball Isn't Boring in the free Odyssey app, wherever you get your podcasts. We'll hear from some players and others coming up here after our Padres wrap-up, including Manny Machado audio. And we'll also hear from you, 833-288-0973.
Lines are on fire this
Said
morning.
a bit of my piece, so you get to say yours coming up here right after this check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad Traffic Center, part of the Premier Auto family, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Valvoline Instant Drive-Thru Oil Change, your 15-minute instant drive-thru oil change. Got a crash on the westbound 8 past the 67. That is over to the right shoulder. And traveling on northbound 805 right before Balboa. Watch out for a stalled vehicle in the fast lane. Stop by any of the 30 San Diego Valvoline Instant Drive-Thru Oil Change centers. You don't have to get out of your car. It usually only takes 15 minutes or less. Visit SoCalOilChange.com for discounts and locations nearest you. Valvoline Oil Change centers are open 7 days a week. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben & Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
It's a shame if they lose.
You can visit Pity City, but you can't live there.
Oh, it's been a great day today. Can't wait for more.
Hey guys, it's Woodsy live from the Crapper again.
Did you miss any of the Padres game yesterday?
Cancel the parade. That's why you play the games.
Oh, God, here we go.
It's the Padres Wrap-Up with Ben and Woods.
Slam Diego? More like fail Diego.
Presented by Hamul Casino. With thrilling slots and tables and all the best rewards, Hamul Casino has all the fun you're looking for. Hamul Casino, fun above all else. On 97.3 The Fan.
I just felt the way that the roster is built, they would have to outscore their opponents to win.
0-2 little tapper back to the mound. Contact play on, and Hancock will go to first. He looked home, thought about it. Kim ends up sliding in with the first run of the night. And I think the rookie pitcher decided to take the sure thing out, and the Padres take a 1-0 lead. Suarez runs. The pitch from Darvish is lined fair down the right field line. It's that side wall. Hernandez got to go and get it. Suarez held it third, now waved as the throw goes into second, and they got him. No run scores for the Mariners as Cal Raleigh tried to get to second base, and Fernando Tatis Jr. threw him out. 3-2 again to Cal Raleigh. The pitch hit in the air, deep down the right field line. Fernando turns to watch. This one gonna go off the facing of the second deck, deep down the right field line. A 2-run homer for Cal Raleigh, and the Mariners lead for the first time tonight. It is 3-1 in the bottom of the 8th. First pitch on the way, and France swings, scorches one into the left center field gap. That'll get down, hit up against the wall, sit on the warning track. Hernandez scores easily. France into second with an RBI double. And now 4-1 Mariners in the 8th. Campbell set. Here's the pitch. Trent swings and misses strike 3. And the ball game is over. Padres come to Seattle to begin this road trip. They are swept 2 straight. Shut out 2-0 last night and beaten 6-1 here tonight. They managed 1 run in 18 innings at T-Mobile Park.
Look, any loss is disappointing right now. With you on the mound and you're facing a guy in his major league debut, maybe that adds to it. But I think any loss right now, especially after we lost the first game here, is at this point, each one of them are disappointing.
I think that's understating things a little bit, Bob. 1 run against Emerson Hancock, making his major league debut. And I really don't care at this point if he was hitting his spots or fired up, or as Xander Bogart said, yeah, I mean, there was a little deceptive movement. It played a little up in terms of velocity. Doesn't matter. Your AA team, saw this last night. Your AA Padres at least put up 3 runs against this guy like a week ago. These are your AA guys. The major league guys, they should be hitting Emerson Hancock. And the only run comes on a walk, 2 steals by Ha-Sung Kim, and a nubber back to the mound. That fortunately Hancock decided to go to first base, because had he gone home, Padres might not have scored at all in that game last night.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, this is a guy we've said it time and time again. Never heard of this guy, or somebody that's 4-11 with a 7.5 ERA, but he figures out how to get right against the Padres. This is a guy making his major league debut. I wanted to just cry when I saw all that stuff about the Missions last week and how they were able to take care of him, and the Padres with Soto, Machado, Tatis, Bogarts, Cronenworth, Kemp. Like, we couldn't do anything against this guy. It was putrid.
One thing does remain consistent from what I've said the last few days. It still comes down to the big three, essentially: Tatis, Soto, and Machado. Another 0 for 10 last night between the three of them combined. Manny did walk a couple of times. Tatis, who has definitely been getting some bad luck. He looked absolutely lost last night. I mean, some of the worst swings and the worst chases I've seen from Fernando Tatis in his entire career. I mean, going back to his rookie season, I haven't seen swings as poor as the ones we saw last night. I mean, I don't blame some of these guys for being a little lost in their head at this point. Who wouldn't be after what's gone on with this team? But those three have picked a really bad time. Juan Soto coming off a 4 strikeout performance, another hitless game for him. Manny, after being so hot in July, has cooled off immensely here. They picked a really bad time to all three of them collectively go into a slump when the Padres could least afford it. We'll hear from Manny in just a moment, but I want to get out to the phone line.
Can just one of them step up and have a decent game?
Yeah. And Xander's been Xander, just unproductive, for the most part all season long. There's just no way you're going to win when that happens from your superstars. Let's go out to the phones. 833-288-0973. Let's see. I think Dan has been on hold the longest this morning from when we started. Morning, Dan. Welcome to Ben & Woods on 97.3 The Fan.
Hey, good morning, Paul. Good morning, Ben. How's it going?
Hi, Dan.
Not great, but hey, we're still here. We're still kicking.
First and foremost, I want to thank Peter Sider for everything he's done for San Diego, for his charity, his passion, and his desire for the city and his baseball team. Second, I want to thank these 26 men of the San Diego Padres for tarnishing the great name of Peter Snyder and everything he's done and tried to do for the city. It is a disgrace that this team gives up on games when we, the fans, pack the stands to help pay these guys' salary, buy merch, and walk around tall and proud to be a San Diego Padres fan. I want to highly encourage Peter Snyder to continue to help hold his head high and be proud for all he's done to help bring a great team to San Diego. Lastly, although this team won't fight for the San Diego Padres as a player, as a coach, or GM, I, as a San Diego Padres fan, will continue to fight for Peter Snyder's San Diego Padres. Thank you, guys.
Dan, thank you for the call.
Good call.
I think one thing is very clear. No matter what happens the rest of this season, and I said it in our open, there needs to be an honest evaluation. And again, I don't care. I don't care if they somehow sneak into the playoffs. Honestly, everyone in the National League is playing so poorly right now that it actually could still happen. And I don't care if they got there and they went on a run and won the World Series. Honestly, the first thing they should do, even before the World Series parade, is start an evaluation of the organization. It doesn't change anything. What happens?
Just a full audit.
What happens? You get hot. It doesn't matter. That is the aberration. You need a full evaluation this offseason, whatever form that takes. I need to see it from this team. And I understand that the comments from Juan Soto are going to rankle a lot of people who have spent a lot of money on tickets this season, going to games, season tickets, merchandise.
As they should.
I'm not surprised.
Should upset you.
I'm
upset.
I also understand that, just like the rest of us, the players get frustrated and lose hope from time to time. I mean, who wouldn't when you're living through it every single day? So I do understand why, some days it just seems overwhelming and they just don't feel like, for whatever reason, they are battling. But it just can't happen. It just can't happen. And I will give Juan Soto credit for admitting what has been fairly obvious all year, that the Padres don't compete every single day the way some other teams do. As much as we despise the Dodgers, I feel fairly confident that team competes every single day. They don't win every game. They've had slumps this year, They've had setbacks, pitching staff in tatters. When something goes wrong, though, they don't fall apart the way it feels like the San Diego Padres do. 833-288-0973. Let's go to, is that Tevin, top of the board? You're on 97.3 The Fan this morning.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
What's up?
Could be doing better.
Tough. Yeah, we could all be doing better this morning.
It's just disappointing. I still don't get the fans that can blame Bob Melvin. I just feel like when I work construction, you have to be given the proper tools to do your job in a general sense of what you do. And I kind of feel like AJ Preller hasn't done that with this team. I feel like I do love Xander Bogaerts. I think he's a great player. I love watching him in Boston. I don't know if that signing really makes sense for us at the beginning of the season with all the shortstops we have and infield depth that we had. I feel like we could have spent that elsewhere, or depth-wise. It could have helped, especially with this trade deadline, I think. But I don't know. I just work construction. I'm a big fan. My mom was born and raised in El Cajon. It's funny. I live in Brookings, South Dakota. I'm a dropout for the rival SDSU. And, but yeah, that's just kind of my 2 cents. I think a lot of our fan base makes some crazy comments, and you guys obviously get the front end of that being the flagship. But that's all I have to say. Glad to be here. Hope for the best. I don't know what to expect from here on out, guys, but that's all I have to say.
I appreciate it. Thanks for the call. As for Bob Melvin, I still think that Bob Melvin, he is a good manager. He's a smart guy. He knows baseball. He has had success. 3-time manager of the year. Took the you're gonna be surprised. He took the San Diego Padres to the National League Championship Series. It's pretty impressive, actually, when you think about
Without
it.
Tatis.
That's pretty impressive. He hasn't been able to figure out, though, what's wrong with this team. I don't know that there is a baseball guy out there who could figure out what's wrong with this team. So I think that's why I've been more hesitant to blame Bob Melvin, but he certainly doesn't get any credit for this season. You know, he has been as in the dark as everybody else. I think we sometimes assume, well, that there's someone right out there waiting to come in and step in with the answer. I don't know that there is, but Bob Melvin, just like everybody else, deserves his share of the blame for not being able to figure out what's going wrong with the San Diego Padres. Let's we got a couple minutes here. Let's hear from Manny Machado. This was after the 20-minute closed door meeting. We're going to play this just audio raw. It's a little back and forth. I think AJ Casavel's in there. Kevin Acee is in there from the UT, talking to Manny on his thoughts after last night's just of a 6-1 loss to the Mariners.
Yeah, you threw the ball well. I mean, you can't knock that. So we just couldn't get that big hit.
Unacceptable. You guys have the big names. You guys have the track records, and he has AA. Like, I assume that's why you say it's unacceptable.
Yeah, I mean, he's made some good pitches. We just couldn't capitalize on it. But yeah, I mean, we're way better than that than what we did today.
Clearly, you guys were not happy with it. What needs to change?
Win more games. Simple.
When you've lost as many close games like this, is there any
close 6-1?
Close in the 8th inning. I mean,
yeah.
But is there a sense that they when they go against you late, like they have, that one compounds into the other, and how do you get that headed in the right direction?
I mean, I wish I knew the answer to that. Honestly, just don't really even know. I mean, I think ultimately how I see it is baseball simple. You got to score more than them. You got to hit the ball better, and they got that big hit. We have one of our best relievers in the game. It's been lights out all year, and he made one pitch, one mistake, and the guy hit a homer. So, we need to capitalize as an offense, and we haven't gotten those pitches either. So, when we do damage, but sometimes you got to tip your cap. When they make the good pitches and they do their jobs. So unfortunately, do we want to be in this position? I don't know, but it is what it is.
You don't want to be in this position. I imagine you still feel like there's a chance for you guys to
get
where you're trying to get to. How important are these games coming up against the teams?
I mean, every game. I don't think we got Arizona coming up now. We need to win. I mean, it don't matter who it is. We got to play good baseball. Good baseball we played. Obviously, the last 2 days we haven't. We got to go out there and turn the page tonight and enjoy this off day tomorrow and come ready to play. Because then we know they're going to bring it. So, we got to go out there and hopefully pull some strings together. Win a couple games in a row. We got to get hot. But if any team can do it, I think this is the team in here.
I know you don't have answers for us, but when you guys close the door for 15 minutes, do you have answers in here?
We always have answers. I mean, whenever you're talking amongst each other, you figure things out, and ultimately, it's all up to us. And I think it's the 26 guys that are in here is what we believe in, and it'll take all 26 of us to get to where we want to get to, and I think ultimately everyone in here has confidence in each other. We've been pulling the same rope, and we just got to play better baseball.
Well, I hear a lot of accountability. I hear it from everybody. We need to play better. We need to step up. I mean, we've heard it all season long from Manny, from different guys, Joe Musgrove, all kinds of guys throughout that team. We need to see it, though. We need to see the accountability. And in a just world, you'd probably bench everybody but Ha-Seong Kim and maybe Luis Campusano tomorrow against the Diamondbacks. You can't do that. You don't have enough players. You can't have a two-man lineup. They wouldn't let you do that. In Major League Baseball, the umpires would say, Bob, we have a problem. You only have 2 guys in your lineup. That's not going to work. So they're going to have to roll everybody out there again. Can they change what's been going on, though? We'll talk about it, a little more about A.J. Preller when we come back here on Ben and Woods. here on a Thursday morning. Woodsy on vacation today. Blissfully, maybe sleeping still? No, he's up. He's not asleep. But.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I think it's it's him and Hannah's like first real family vacation, maybe, or one of the very few. They've done like the trip to the desert and overnight, but I don't recall them really getting out of town as a whole family unit.
Taking some days off the show. He absolutely deserves it. I've taken my time off. I don't begrudge Woods for not being here today.
I'm jealous.
He like won. I don't care how the actual vacation goes. He won the lottery by not having to be here this morning, I think. Just knowing he's probably just breathing like, But we're here, and I'm glad the tier ones are here too. If you want to join us, 833-288-0973. I've got my glasses now. I started wearing them a couple of months ago, and I'm putting on my hindsight is 2020 glasses.
Oh boy!
Right now, because I think we all. I mean, for the most part, I thought the Padres fan base, the media, were pretty happy with the moves that A.J. Preller made at the trade deadline. Not selling, but not being a big buyer, not, raiding the farm system of the top prospects to try to go out and make a huge splashy move. They wanted to improve around the fringes. Craig Elsten, who's going to join us at 7:35. Exactly what he was hoping for. We talked about it last week, the moves that we thought the Padres should make. So this is very much hindsight talking, because we liked the addition of G-Man Choi and Garrett Cooper to add some depth to the designated hitter position. Scott Barlow, adding to the bullpen that needed a little help, looked like pretty good moves. Since the trade deadline, the new acquisitions at the plate, 1 for 17. On the mound, Rich Hill and Scott Barlow, 7 2/3 innings pitched, 15 runs allowed.
Oh.
I mean, not only did your trade deadline pieces not yet reinforce your team, they've actually made things much, much worse. And unfortunately for AJ, even going back to last year's trade deadline, which, even Juan Soto struggled some. Josh Bell struggled down the stretch. Brandon Drury had like a hot day or two, and then he started struggling. AJ Preller right now, what's the opposite of the Midas touch when it comes to these moves? They look good on paper. I mean, everyone seems to agree with the moves that AJ makes for the most part. And then for whatever reason, in reality, they fall as flat as a pancake on the field with the San Diego Padres. I saw some people going, AJ should have traded for Michael Lorenzen. I mean, he was available from the Tigers, threw a no-hitter yesterday for the Philadelphia Phillies in his very second start.
8 innings in his first start.
2-0, no-hitter.
His second start.
Be honest with me. If the Padres had traded for Michael Lorenzen, and it would have taken better prospects to get someone like that, do we really think he would have pitched a no-hitter for the Padres in one of these two starts? Do you really think he would have? And by the way, had he done so, they still would have needed to score a run to win the game. I mean, he can't hit for the team.
Innings, but
the Phillies scored 7 runs. Makes it really easy when you score 7 and get a no-hitter to win games. But it takes the entire team. To me, it feels like trading for Michael Lorenzen would have been an even bigger waste right now with this team. But I did see that. I saw that take out there. Oh, you got Rich Hill. You could have gotten Michael Lorenzen out there. How is that going to help what we saw the last 2 days? It wasn't the pitching. It hasn't been the pitching the last couple of days. You know how many earned runs the starting pitching gave up in Seattle? 0. None at all. No earned runs allowed by the starting pitchers. Now the bullpen, different story, especially
one of
yesterday.
those was basically a bullpen day, but you're taking the 3 innings from Nick Martinez and then what you gave you yesterday.
Yeah, it was a short start for the bullpen yesterday for sure. I mean, on Tuesday, but it wasn't the pitching it was Steven Wilson had a bad day. I actually liked, and I think you agreed with me, Paul. I liked Bob Melvin's aggressive usage of Robert Suarez. Yu Darvish was good, but got into trouble in the 7th inning. No fault of his own. He got absolute horrible non-check swing call that should have struck out the first batter and then hits the next guy. But one of those that just drives me crazy when it's a check swing and his elbow is pretty much on the inside corner of the plate and it ends up hitting it because he can't pull the bat back. a little
Right.
bad luck for you there. But great job by Robert Suarez, the aggressive usage, getting him out there to get the strikeout guy.
I love that move.
I did. And he still had Wilson and Hader coming in the last couple of innings. Wilson has not given up a lead. What was this, April? In a game like that, what was the stat?
This was from AJ Cassavell. Cal Raleigh took Steven Wilson very deep, putting the Mariners on top 3-1 in the 8th. Wilson had not given up a tie or a lead in a game since April. And then AJ goes on to talk about how he hit Teoscar Hernandez. We could talk about that. I know a lot of people.
Yeah, we'll talk about that coming up.
There.
But I thought strategically, Bob Melvin had a great game. Aggressively using Cooper as a pinch hitter coming in, trying to. And by the way, he absolutely scalded that one with 2 runners
I thought
on.
it was gone off the bat.
It was hit 109 miles per hour. Had an XBA of 880. People are mad that I pointed that out and going, doesn't matter if you don't get a hit, how hard you hit it. Yeah, of course it matters if you're barreling up the baseball and rifling it. That's all you can really do. Sometimes it's going to go into a glove. That is bad luck on that case. But, luck is not what sunk the Padres yesterday. They did not play well, and they did not get any production from the main part of their order. That's what sunk the Padres last night. Let's go back to the phones. By the way, we're going to play Real or Fake here in a minute or two. If you want to try to qualify for a trip to Las Vegas, a little getaway sounds good for everybody, not just Woods right now. We're just a couple minutes away from your game, so call us 833-288-0973. Get in line. We'll play a little Real or Fake in a couple of minutes. So let's go out to Mike in Temecula. Mike, good morning. Welcome to 97.3 The Fan. How are you?
Oh, fabulous, right? Aren't
Yeah.
we all just hunky-dory right now?
Oh, yeah. What a morning.
Hey, I want to commend you on Tuesday. I wanted to call you and tell you I was a Ben fan. You were just nailing it. You were just on fire with your takes on Tuesday. And I also agree with you right now is I look at it, and it just reminds me of the year when AJ went out and got Kemp and Ray and all these guys. It just didn't work out. It just seems, and I'm not like saying AJ shouldn't have done this stuff. It's great stuff, but I think there's just too many cooks right now that are new, that are in the kitchen, and it's just for one reason with my heart.
You were on a roll there, and we lost you, Mike. I mean, I don't know exactly the expression too many cooks in the kitchen. I do feel like, AJ has made a lot of changes and brings in a lot of new faces all the time. And I think it does make it a little harder for cohesiveness and everybody to come together at times. Not this year, though. I mean, they added a couple DHs. They kept the core of the team intact at this trade deadline. They didn't make giant moves. I liked that. It hasn't worked out, though. And unfortunately, a lot of AJ's moves, as exciting as they've been, as promising as they've looked on paper, have not worked out very well for the San Diego Padres. It's just a fact. And ultimately, at some point, you do have to be judged on your record. The process may be good, but the results have been bad for AJ Preller for a while now. And I know Peter Seidler's taken a lot of flack for his AJ is excellence quote. Maybe behind the scenes, you like the process. I mean, we all seem to nod when they make the moves and go, oh, yeah, I see how this is going to help the team. This is a good move. I agree with this. But at some point, you have to be judged on what actually comes out of your moves, how they perform together as a group on the field. And by that metric, it's an F. It's a straight on F. There's no question about it. Now, maybe G-Man Choi and Garrett Cooper get going here and get hot. I mean, I'm not gonna evaluate anyone on what's it been one week since the trade deadline, 1 week from last Tuesday, so 9 days. I mean, barely a week since they've joined the team. That's not fair to say, well, they were complete busts. Anyone can have a bad couple of days, especially on a new team. But so far, you heard the numbers: 1 for 17 at the plate, 15 runs allowed on the mound. So far,
we talked about it yesterday. Oh, you got to get Garrett Cooper at bats. Oh, you got to get Choi his at bats. Right now, I want Campusano in the lineup every single day. I want to see Gary Sanchez more because at least the potential's there for a big hit. Get those guys there at bats somewhere else. Right now, it's not time to experiment. It's not time to tinker. It's time to get wins.
You know what it's time for? It's time for Real or Fake. Let's get to it.
Some are here for the compelling sports talk with Ben and Woods. Yeah, you can go plow through another donut. It's time for Real or Fake on 97.3 The Fan. Tell the people what they'll win today.
Real or Fake, brought to you by Home Turf, Safe Time, and Water with pet-friendly, always green grass. And get a free consultation by calling the team at Home Turf at 888-4SD-TURF or go to sdhometurf.com. You won't know if it's real or fake. Good news, real or fake, not about the Padres today. We got David as our contestant. Good morning, David.
Good morning, guys.
Here's what you're playing for. If you can get at least 4 of our 7 correct, you will qualify for a 2-night stay at the Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino and 2 tickets to Kool and the Gang. Backed by popular demand after multiple sold-out shows, the legendary funk group Kool and the Gang returning to the stage at the Westgate Las Vegas Resort and Casino. Get tickets now at Ticketmaster.com. New room renovations as well as the home of legendary Vegas fun. The only Padres mentioned is because they were just in Seattle. That was the inspiration today for Real or Fake, David.
Okay.
Sure, at least a few people visited Starbucks while they were there. Paul, you're from Seattle. Starbucks also from Seattle. Today on Real or Fake, we're going through the Starbucks menu. They have lots of different toppings you can add to your coffee drinks. David, I'm going to name a topping. You need to tell me if it's a real topping you can add to your drink at Starbucks or a fake I've made up for your game. You know, there are like 30 plus different things you can like sprinkle on top of your drinks at Starbucks. So, David, are you a coffee drinker? Got any hope here?
I don't know.
All right. Well, I mean, I'm looking at your list. This is not one of them. So the example would be if you got, a drink and it had some whipped cream or something on top and you top that with like some cinnamon.
Yeah, cinnamon would be an absolute real topping you could put on there,
Okay.
Chocolate shavings are a real one. But let's go to real or fake, David. I mean, worst is worst. It's 50-50, right? All right, round number 1. Toasted honey. Real or fake?
Fake.
I don't even know what toasted honey is, but it is actually an option you can put on top of your drink
Honey?
at Starbucks.
Just regular honey.
Just toast it? I don't know. All right, that's okay. We oftentimes see people come back in this game. Round number 2. Powdered cardamom. Real or fake, David?
Real.
Say real?
You said real, I think. No, that one's fake. Sounds real. But cardamom is like those little... I don't even know what they are. I have no idea. All right, that's 0 for 2. Let's get going here. All right, here we go, David. Round number 3. Blonde chocolate chips. Blonde chocolate chips. Real or fake, David?
Fake.
That is fake. Very good. That's 1 point for David.
On the
He needs
board.
3 more to qualify for the trip to Vegas. Round number 4. Candied orange zest. Real or fake, David? Candied orange zest.
Real.
That's fake too. All right.
Against it.
Now we're up against it. Yeah, that's 3 misses, which means 1 more miss and you are eliminated. So you got to get the rest of these correct. Round number 5. Cranberry sugar crystals. David, real or fake?
Fake.
Can anyone buy a break anymore? I mean, that was unfortunate. I'm sorry, David. You've been eliminated today on real or fake. I got a couple more real ones for you. Chunky fudge.
Oh, sounds good.
I kind of want to go out and order that right now. And how about this one? This one sounds really good. Salted brown butter cookies. You can actually
like little tiny cookies?
like crumbles of little tiny salted brown butter cookies.
Oh, God.
Yeah, give me a frappuccino with some whipped cream and those things on it. That sounds really good right now.
2,500 calories here.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. These are we're definitely adding to the fat and sugar content of these drinks quite a bit with some of these toppings that I did not even know existed. Well, I guess it's fitting on this morning that we lose on real or fake as well. We'll take a timeout. We got Craig Elsten at the bottom of the hour. Don't Do This is coming up next as well.
I know what our do this will be.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, history made in Philadelphia.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That. Very good. Very good. We can talk about that. I've got an update on the Northwestern scandal thing. I mean, how do you keep stepping in it over and over and over again? Get to that coming up next on 97.3 The Fan. Hey, it's nice every 80 minutes or so taking a break of talking about all the Padres don't do this moments from yesterday and the entire
It's time
season.
for Don't Do This. The Padres.
Talk about some other don't do this moments. This hour of Ben and Woods is brought to you by the Golf Mart. And I'll start with the Northwestern Wildcats, who, of course, have been in the news for a giant hazing scandal that resulted in the termination of head coach Pat Fitzgerald. And remember, Paulie, the university conducted a really big organization. And while they weren't...
Investigation.
What did I say?
Organization.
Investigation. Thank you very much. And while, the findings weren't necessarily that Pat Fitzgerald was the ringleader, like he was forcing all this hazing on everybody, at some point, the person in charge has to be responsible, right, for what's going on, especially with college kids, a program, and he ended up losing his job. Well, what Northwestern's many coaches and players showed up at practice this week wearing T-shirts that read "Cats Against the World" and then number 51, which was a little secret nod of support to Pat Fitzgerald. That was his number when he was a two-time National Defensive Player of the Year at Northwestern in the mid-1990s. Their athletic director calling out his team yesterday, Derek Gregg, saying it is inappropriate, offensive, and completely tone deaf. The entire world is watching what we're doing in this moment. We have already embarrassed ourselves, humiliated ourselves on the national stage. And now you guys are going out and wearing T-shirts, supporting the guy that we have at least said is very responsible for the conduct that was happening in this program. That's embarrassing for Northwestern University, and they got called out for it yesterday.
I really hate those stories, the hazing stories, the
Yeah.
college investigations. And man, that story was just super, super gnarly from the get-go. When you hear the coach encouraging the hazing, I hated everything about that story.
We got some breaking Don't Do This news this morning. That's always exciting at 7:24 a.m. Comes from the world of golf and something that I have been very excited about for several months, knowing that this was coming. Remember, we had Alan Shipnuck on. He wrote the autobiography of Phil, the unauthorized autobiography of Phil Mickelson. Great book, by the way. If you haven't checked it out, highly recommend if you're at all interested in golf. Phil Mickelson, a wild character, but we always knew this was coming. A book by gambler Billy Walters, who has a checkered past of his own, but he lives here in San Diego. Armin Katayan, who's a San Diego guy, was the co-author of this autobiography called Gambler: Secrets from a Life of Risk. And Billy Walters and Phil Mickelson were friends who ran together, gambling friends that ran together. Phil, of course, threw Billy under the bus in a insider trading scandal that landed Billy Walters in prison. Phil was, testified in the case, walked away from it with slap on the wrist, had to give back some of his earnings, but didn't go to jail or anything. So they had a giant falling out, and Billy is telling all in this book. The first excerpts came out this morning. Our friends at the Fire Pit Collective had them this morning with a detailed look at some of Phil Mickelson. According to Billy Walters, said Phil has bet more than $1 billion. That's with a B, not with an M, not $1 million. That he has bet more than $1 billion on football, basketball, and baseball over the past 3 decades. And maybe the spiciest allegation of all from this excerpt.
I didn't even know he had that much money.
That Billy says that Phil, when he was on the 2012 Ryder Cup team, during the Ryder Cup, called him and said, he is so confident in Team USA, what's going on? Throw $400,000 on this team for me while he's competing in the event in 2012. Citing betting records and 2 very reliable sources, Walters writes that from 2010 to 2014, Mickelson made 858 bets of $220,000, 1,115 bets of $110,000. He said Mickelson endured losses of approximately $100 million while betting more than $1 billion over the past 3 decades.
My God.
That's not a horrible loss rate. I mean, you lose 10% of what you gamble. That's what you got to expect. If you're a gambler, that's the edge, that's the vig. That means he's probably breaking fairly even on his wins and losses and ends up just losing the 10% to the house But when the 10% to the house is $100 million, Phil, you might have a gambling problem.
I would say so.
Wow.
Oh boy, let's lighten the mood a little bit. Some do this.
DD mega doo-doo.
No brainer. Michael Lorenzen. We talked about it briefly earlier in the show. His second start since being acquired by the Philadelphia Phillies. I think he went 8 strong innings in his debut with the Phillies last time around. And yesterday it was something special. It's only happened one time here in San Diego. This was the 14th no-hitter for the Philadelphia Phillies organization.
Outfield shaded to the opposite field against the lefty Smith. The 3-2 pitch, swing and a high fly ball. Center field coming in is Rojas. He's calling. He has got it.
Yeah.
Lorenzen leaps into the arms of Real Muto, and the Phillies pile out of the dugout. In front of the mound, they celebrate a no-hitter tonight by Michael Lorenzen in his second start as a Philly.
Awesome. And then after the game, saw Michael Lorenzen. He puts on the headset. He's talking to the broadcasters. And this is right before the Gatorade bath. And he gets a little emotional. They asked him about his father who passed away in 2016. And this one got me.
Michael, we've been enjoying watching your mom the whole night.
I bet.
I got to ask you, we mentioned your family. What do you think your dad would be thinking right now?
Man, I don't know. Yeah, you got me emotional now, but if he's just saying attaboy, way to finish it.
And then he gets bailed out of that emotional answer with the Gatorade bath, multiple Gatorade baths there in Philadelphia. But yeah, his whole family, his wife, his mom, they were in attendance. A really special moment.
Couple of cool notes here. Excuse me. First of all, the Phillies have like the coolest list of no-hitters. You said 14 of them, but that includes a combined no-hitter in the World Series last year, Roy Halladay's playoff no-hitter, which was the second all-time when it happened. They have Roy Halladay's perfect game. I mean, now this stat was absolutely mind-blowing. I saw Jesse shared this last night. We know the story of Point Loma High School, Don Larson, David Wells, both throwing perfect games from the same high school. How crazy that is. So Michael Lorenzen attended Fullerton Union High School here up in Fullerton, California. Over the whole the course of that high school, which has been open like for a century or more, it's like one of the older high schools in Orange County. They have only had 4 people ever make it to the big leagues out of that high school. 4 of them from that high school have gone on to play Major League Baseball. They all happen to be pitchers. Every single one of them has now thrown a no-hitter in baseball, all from the same high school in Orange County, Fullerton Union. Starting with, and I had no idea of this, Walter Johnson, 1907, who went to Fullerton Union High School, threw the first no-hitter. 1972, Steve Busby threw a no-hitter. 1983, Mike Warren, another guy I have never heard of, threw a no-hitter. And now Michael Lorenzen in 2023. What an odd and eclectic quartet of 4 people, all from the same high school, and all have no-hitters now in Major League Baseball.
It's unbelievable.
That's a freaky, weird baseball stat. I mean, baseball has a lot of strange stats. That one's as freaky and weird as I've ever heard before.
That is a baseball stat through and through. Absolutely.
Unbelievable. I guess when your sport is around for 150 years, you're going to amass some crazy things that happen. And that is one of the craziest. And that's don't and do this for a Thursday.
That was Don't Do This with Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan.
And I know a lot of people were mad at me last night. I get it. I got your hopes up. It was just me. No one else did. And now you're disappointed, and you're blaming me for my optimism. Craig Elsten is coming up next. Let's blame Craig a little bit. I mean, he liked the trade deadline moves.
Yeah, it's your fault, Craig.
They fell apart. Maybe it's Craig's fault that this team isn't performing up to expectations. I'll hold his feet to the fire, and we'll get a Crossing Streams television recommendation when we come back with Ben and Woods here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Catch what you missed now on the Odyssey app. Search 96.7.3 The Fan. Go back, catch anything from any of our shows. Just download the Odyssey app now. That's AUDACY. Woodsy's off today and tomorrow. Actually, we're all off tomorrow. So if you have something to say to us, say it now. Our friend Braden is actually going to be in tomorrow morning to talk Padres baseball with everybody, just to keep the conversation
so
going.
No CBS Sports Radio.
Yeah,
for you guys.
keep it local. I like that decision, and I told Braden, hey, our audience wants to talk Padres. I think now we'll see how that goes after. There's no game today, so there's at least nothing worse I think can happen. Knock on wood. I guess something worse could happen today. It's hard to imagine what it could be. But we will talk to Craig Elsten, get his thoughts on this mess right after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad Traffic Center, part of the Premier Auto family, here's Kelly Danick.
If you think your day's off to a bad start, how would you like to be this person whose pickup truck is stuck in middle lane, southbound 5 near Delmar Heights Road? Or this person in Chula Vista, northbound 5 at Palomar Street. Looks like a vehicle fires cars over the right shoulder. The engine apparently on fire, so watch out for some activity there. And Kelly Danick, Ben and Wood, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
There's Craig Elsten. I see him.
Let's go out to our Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. There he is, Craig Elsten from 619 Sports, Padres Hot Tub, and the Crossing Streams podcast. And Craig, you've known me long enough that you see me once or twice hit my breaking point. It doesn't happen very often, but today it happened. And I don't know how much you heard earlier in the show, but I finally came to the realization, as optimistic as I want to be, and honestly, I said this as well, as bad as everybody in the National League is, Padres aren't out of it. I mean, they could still come back. They're 4.5 games out with 47 games to go. Even if they did, though, this organization needs a reckoning and an honest evaluation in the offseason. Even if it comes after a World Series parade, they need someone with a critical eye to go in and see what they're missing, because I've seen too many shrugs from the front office, from the coaching staff, from the players that don't even know what's wrong. They don't know what's wrong with this team. And that, to me, is the biggest indictment of the San Diego Padres organization of all.
Yes. First off, Ben, I agree. We're going to find some commonality here on the segment today. I will literally tell you, this morning I woke up, early, not like woke up, stayed up, but kind of woke up in bed around 4. I was thinking literally about this interview, this segment, and how my take was going to be, something's wrong with the Padres. Something is 100% wrong with this team, because you've been around this sport and many sports far too long, Ben, and I've been around this sport and many sports far too long. And there are some teams that will never play well, no matter who's on the roster, because they don't get along, because there is a chemistry issue, because there's a want-to issue with the team. And those are the kind of things you can never see from the outside. But you know what you can see from the outside? You can see a team in a desperate circumstance, knowing that every game is critical and there's fewer than 50 games remaining, go up to Seattle and score one run. And that run came only because Ha-Seong Kim is an awesome player. And he scored a Ricky Henderson run to lead off the game. Walk, steal second, steal third, come home on a dribbler. All Kim, all the time. There's something, I want to do some Brian Windhorst, There's something wrong
going on.
For
in
those
Utah.
not listening, Craig did an outstanding, if you remember the meme that went around of Brian Windhorst from ESPN, talking, what was the basketball? It was
Utah.
What's going on
in Utah?
What is it? You nailed that one, Craig.
Thanks. I mean, what is going on? What did we hear today definitively? Juan Soto said, "We give up." The day before, Fernando Tatis, and I know it was in a different context, I'm being a little unfair, but nonetheless, he was asked about his struggles, and he said, "I don't know, I give up." And about 2 weeks before, Bob Melvin talked about effort, and that this team's effort needs to change. Yesterday, I saw Ha-Sung Kim get on base, steal second, and Fernando Tatis go up and have the worst at-bat of his career. Change his stance, swing at 3 pitches off the plate, feebly strike out, trudge back to the dugout. This team has no energy right now. They have no excitement. There's no want to. And it's got to come from FTJ. It's got to come from Fernando Tatis Jr., and he's in the worst slump of his career.
I think you make a great point, and I had noticed that as well. Fernando Tatis Jr., as many guys will do when they're struggling, you start tinkering, and the changing of the stance just shows how lost he is right now. But it also shows you that they don't maybe have faith in their own process, and that is part of the problem as well, that they don't have faith that what they're doing is the right thing anymore, that maybe they're doing something completely wrong to begin with, Craig.
Seth Lugo on Monday is given a 5-0 lead, and a Dodgers team that is cruising to the division is doing the extra things to try and get to Seth Lugo when they get runners on base. They're working for one another. Even if what they're doing is ethically marginal, they're working for one another. The Padres faced a dude out of Double-A making his major league debut last night, and San Diego made it so easy on this kid. So easy on him, swinging at his pitches, going up there with no confidence, no game plan, nothing going on. And let's broaden it out now, okay? You said it. I want to say it too. I want to stay consistent. I said there's only one path for this team, and it's the reverse 2010. And I truly believe that. In 2010, the team kept playing well, way beyond where we thought they would, and then it finally came crashing down. The only way this thing turns around is if if we all give up on this team, and then 2 weeks from now they win, 18 out of 20 games or something. But what makes us think that streak is in this team? Every team in baseball gets hot for a week. The dumbest, most backward teams in baseball get hot for a week. This team has never gotten hot for a week. 5-1, 1-5, 4-2, 2-4. So what's going on culturally with this club? And the number one thing that just drives me nuts, man, is that AJ Preller made decades-long commitments to guys before ever seeing how they played together and how they interacted with one another. What if Xander Bogaerts and Manny Machado just aren't a fit? That's 11 years, and you're going to have to dig out of that hole. I do not believe AJ Preller has the ability to dig out of this hole. I think if the Padres have to completely revamp, someone else has to revamp them.
I'll give you the one reason that we can all agree on why the Padres will still go on a run the rest of the season. You ready, Craig?
I'm ready.
It's because they'll need one more run to get our hopes up one more time so they can dash them again. That's why they will invariably, at some point, climb within 2 or 1 game of the wild card and get us all excited
One
again.
game within 500.
Only to stomp on our hearts one more time. I think you'd think it's impossible at this point. I mean, we just have 5 times this year where I know our listeners have gone, that's it, it's done, it's over. And this is just the latest. Do they have one more time in them to rip our hearts out this season?
Yeah, I'm starting to truly believe that the destiny of this club is to, in game 162, win 19-0 to finish 81-81. And with like a plus 100 run differential.
And with as bad as the NL is right now, and finish 1 game out of a playoff spot, or lose a tiebreaker to the Cubs for the last playoff spot at 81-81.
Yeah, I mean, what else do we expect from this group? And obviously Joe Musgrove, who's been trying, he's like the one guy on the team that him and Kim have been trying so hard all year long. And Joe Musgrove has tried so hard that he might have put his career at risk. Like literally might have put his career at risk. And I'm here to tell you, I don't want to see Joe Musgrove pitch again this season. And if the team sweeps Arizona and he thinks I got to jump in the hyperbaric chamber and buy myself a pet monkey and go to a shaman and figure it out, we're not going to see him pitch in 2024 after major shoulder surgery. Like, let's stop goofing around. And I'm so frustrated. A week ago, I came on this show and I said, let's ride. And G-Man Choi has 0 hits. Garrett Cooper has 1 lousy single. Scott Barlow's been torched for 10 runs. Rich Hill looks like Ryan Weathers, but 20 years older. Like it's an absolute nightmare what's happened in the past week. But the biggest nightmare of all is Juan Soto saying, you know what, we just give up. And we all know it's true. We all know it's true. We've watched this damn team for 110 games, and we know it's true that this team gives up. They fold. Dude, the league is stunting on us. Joe Kelly goes up and in. I'm going to do a little Woods here, but Joe Kelly goes up and in on Tatis and then turns around and says effing B. And Tatis is like, ha, 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 cool. Joe, Joe Kelly's really funny. And then the next day it's Rodriguez robbing him of a homer and hiding it from everyone, and then catching Cronenworth and dancing around in the teams are stunting. They're not just beating the Padres. They know all they have to do is tip the cow over and the cow falls down. This Padres team shows less than 0 heart. And until they show us something like that, why should we ever believe in them again?
Talking to Craig Elsten, great stuff, Craig. And one more just little comment, because you talked about guys who are showing heart. Ha-Seong Kim, Joe Musgrove. I mean, Blake Snell seems that he keeps bringing it when he's making his starts. I thought Yu Darvish showed some heart again yesterday. Scott Lewis, who we both know at Voice of San Diego, tweeted something this morning that I thought was very interesting, and I was kind of had my head nodding when asked about those comments about Juan Soto tweeting about him. He says, I don't know that it's the people who are just giving up, they're just there for the paycheck. He says, when quitting happens, it's a defense mechanism. It's easier to cope with failure if you have chosen it. It's really hard to heart your way out of it. And yeah, I mean, it's the guys who have been struggling who now look like they're the guys who are now quitting. And it is a bit of a defense mechanism. Like, you get to the point, like, I don't know what's going on. I can't figure it out. Just to protect myself, I'm just shutting down and quitting. And it does look like that's what's happening.
And it just has to be repeated. This is the most expensive team in Padres history by a country mile. This is the second most expensive team in the history of National League West baseball. The history of National League West baseball. And where are they? They are 5 games under 500 with under 50 games to play, and spent 100 games telling us, shut up, you. Don't you worry. Look at the back of the baseball card. Look at who we are. We're going to be who we are at the end, but they've never done the work to get there. And I just got to say, watching the Dodgers and the Mariners this last week, it's been so revelatory to see 2 teams, and the Mariners traded away guys. Did they lose heart? Did they lose fire? They've won 11 out of 13 or 12 out of 14 games. The Dodgers just keep on grinding. They show you what it means to be a winner in the league. Padre fans don't want to hear that. Stop losing to them 13 seasons in a row. So, something's rotten in Denmark with this Padres team. It's absolutely clear, and it's time for the words to completely stop. If you want to go sweep Arizona, fine, but I'm with you, Ben. I think it's just going to give us some more false hope. I'm really, really frustrated this morning.
We may need more Crossing Streams recommendations here, depending on what time we have to fill the last couple of months of the season. What do you got for us today, Craig?
All right, I got a great one for you today. And like, literally, if you turned off yesterday's game midway through and put this on, you would have had a much, much better night. It's a new film on Netflix. It's been out just a few weeks, called They Cloned Tyrone. Have you guys heard of this?
Paulie said people have been talking about this one.
I didn't get to it yesterday when you told me that was the recommendation, but I have heard nothing but good things. It's in the queue. I'm looking forward to it.
This is one of the funnier movies and more clever movies of 2023. It's a Netflix-only film. They Cloned Tyrone. Incredible. This is an all-black cast with one notable cameo exception that I won't spoil that pops up late in the movie. John Boyega, who you know from the Star Wars films, if nothing else, he plays, they're in a place called The Glen, just kind of a generic black neighborhood. Boyega is kind of a street tough. And in the first 15, 20 minutes of the movie, he goes to get his money from a local pimp. Jamie Foxx plays Slick Charles. One of the escorts under his service is Yo-Yo, played by Teyonah Parris, who you might remember from The Marvels as the Black Captain Marvel. All of these people are incredibly funny in this movie. And in the first 15 minutes of the show, John Boyega runs up against somebody who he's had a beef with and is shot like 6 times in his car. And then he wakes up the next morning in his bed and has no idea of anything that happened. But Slick Charles, who watched him get gunned down, remembered that he was dead the day before, as did Yo-Yo. And the three of them go on a journey the next day to try and figure out what the heck is going on in their neighborhood. It gets a little sci-fi, a little wacky. It's extremely funny and very like kind of culturally in the moment. They Clone Tyrone has a lot of like, how does modern capitalism keep black neighborhoods down, but it's done in such a humorous and original way. This is a 2-hour movie. You're going to laugh a lot at They Cloned Tyrone. There's some language, of course. There's some violence in the film, but it is an absolute gas. It is a great way to turn up. If you're down on the Padres, if you want to turn your mood meter up, They Cloned Tyrone will be a fun way to spend the weekend.
Excellent. Thank you, Craig. And in the next few weeks, we'll need your season 2 winning time thoughts as well. Saw the first episode and enjoyed it tremendously like I did season 1. So I'm sure we'll talk about that at some point. Thank you very much. Enjoy your weekend. Appreciate you accommodating us on a Thursday.
Hey, go Padres.
Yeah. Go to
Ron
Arizona.
Burgundy.
I know that's what they're doing next. Craig Elsten
Craig.
on our Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. Save money the right way with Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Visit them today in the Carlsbad Auto Mall. Chevrolet, find new roads. Craig mentioned teams basically, knowing that they can punk the Padres pretty much. We did see a Padres pitcher go high and tight yesterday after the discussion that we had.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure. In fact, I know that's not what Woodsy had in mind yesterday. We'll talk about what happened with Steven Wilson there in the 8th inning and more. Coming up next, Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan. Hour number 3 of Ben Sands Woods. Ben and Paul this morning on 97.3 The Fan. Again, I hope Woodsy's having a nice, relaxing morning. Those 2 little angel monsters that he's got. I don't know that there's any relaxing moments in the Woods household at this point. Was nice
He
to
did
see
text
them.
me about an hour ago. Gave me the old,
did he?
how's it going?
Oh, good.
I said, how the F do you think it's going? You watched I know you watched the game last night. How the F do you think it's going, buddy?
Don't know. Yeah, I mean, players only meetings. It was you watched last night's game and you saw the way it was going. It was 1-1. In any reasonable universe where you're cheering for a normal baseball team, you've got to feel like, we've absolutely got a chance. All we got to do is score a run and have our bullpen, which is well set up, close it out. I mean, why can't you win that game? That should be a toss-up game, right? 50-50 coin flip.
Absolutely.
1-1 going into the 7th. Yu Darvish is still in there throwing pretty well. If anything, you might, in a logical world, say Padres might even have a little bit of an advantage here going in the last 3 innings. No one thought that. Even I was thinking, I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop. I know something bad is going to happen. I don't know what form it's going to take.
I knew in the 8th inning, for whatever reason, I knew Cal Raleigh was going to be the one to hit that.
Honestly, I'm a little surprised it didn't happen in the 7th inning. Somehow, Robert Suarez worked his way out. Once they got the first 2 guys on the 7th inning, I thought, here comes the Mariners going to put it away. Here it comes. And then they got through that inning, and I go, that they're not going to score.
I wasn't, it was weird. It was like when I saw that he was coming up in that 8th inning, when he was on deck, I think, I go, he's going to hit a home run here. I posted online. You just got to trust me. And it was, I was thinking about the beginning of the game when Don and Mud were going through the lineups and they mentioned that he leads the major leagues in home runs at the catching position. I go, I did not know that. So I learned something there. He had 18, I think, heading into last night's game. And I just go, here it comes.
Up until that point, the home run allowed by Steven Wilson, it was a regularly frustrating game for the Padres. It was 0 for 9 with runners in scoring position. It was, it was not enough offense. It was not taking advantage of opportunities. It's a story we've seen many, many times before. After the home run, though, it was a complete wheels off the wagon situation. And we actually have not seen that much for the Padres this year. Would you agree with me? That as bad as they've been, it's been more of a, we're frustrated because we were so close sort of thing.
I would say in the last month, it does feel like there's been a lot of wheels falling off.
We saw it against the Dodgers in the last couple of days.
Maybe it's a recency bias.
It's a recent thing, but I think the weird part about all of this is that this 4-game losing streak and this run of the really gnarly games where they've gotten out of hand late. So we saw the hit by pitch followed by 3 more runs coming around. Jake, ball off his glove, just everything looking really ragged. It all came right after arguably their most inspiring win of the season when they rallied against the Dodgers there in the 8th inning on Saturday night going, this is what we've been waiting for. Finally, they've turned the corner. It just goes to show you that nothing about this team has made sense this year. I mean, wouldn't a normal team take that and game and draw confidence and inspiration? And this is what we've waited for all year. They came out of that game, what should have been, they're like, this is it. This is the moment we've been looking for. We told you guys this was in us and we did it. Here we go. And I mean, the exact opposite happened. They played maybe 4 of their worst games of the year coming out of that. It defies making sense. So let's go back to the 8th inning.
I want to talk about this.
So Steven Wilson gives up the home run to Cal Raleigh, 450 feet, just sailing. I mean
off the glass and the second level suites or whatever that they had over.
And you saw Steven Wilson's reaction. He was upset. He was mad. You saw him as just off the mound. He just twisting his head like, no, like he was really bummed about that. He wanted that badly, that spot to put up a 0 and give his team a chance to win.
And I want to echo, I still loved going to Suarez in the 7th.
I do too.
And I like the move going to Wilson in the 8th there.
And I think Wilson, he's got some passion. I don't think he's the problem. I like him in the bullpen. You're always going to get you're not going to go through an entire season. You're going to have some problems every once in a while. Of course, they always happen at the worst moments for the Padres. So next batter is Teoscar Hernandez. And everyone knows how that at-bat ended with Teoscar getting beamed in the helmet. Really,
Terrifying.
really scary. Up and in, right under his face.
Could hit the bill of his cap or his helmet and knocked
was
it
an
clean
inch
off.
or two away from one of those potentially devastating face fastballs like Austin Nola took during the preseason and spring training. Fortunately, it just knocked his helmet off of his head. But I think there's some context here. And I know we were all upset when Angel Perdomo drilled Manny Machado right after the Juan Soto home run, and he got ejected and suspended for a game.
Somebody messaged us. We got a lot of messages about that specific moment. And somebody said, I'm very curious to see how you guys address this tomorrow. When Machado was hit in the back right after a Juan Soto home run, you guys didn't believe Perdomo's apologies. Well, Wilson just hit a Mariner in the head after giving up a back-breaking home run.
I don't doubt that Steven Wilson, I could see he was mad and frustrated. But remember, Angel Perdomo, it was the very next pitch. He came right back onto the mound, and in what I thought was a moment of just bitter frustration, drilled Manny on the next pitch. And the umpires agreed. They threw him out. He was suspended. Steven Wilson came back, and he got ahead 0-2 in the count. I mean, he looked like he was still competing. Remember, the score was 3-1 at that point. Yes, I know for the Padres, it feels like you're down 40-1 when it's 3-1. But in the mind of Steven Wilson, I promise, he's going like, I need to keep it here. We still could hit a 3-run homer in the ninth inning. I've got to keep it right here. He goes out, gets the first 2 strikes. He's trying to get, there's only 1 out, I think, or no outs in that inning. He's trying to get an out and trying to get back to the dugout and give his team a chance. I don't think hitting Teoscar Hernandez was anywhere on his mind. And then the 0-2 pitch is the one, that's a weird spot if you're going to throw at someone. Wait until 0-2 is the one that got away up and in. And while Angel Perdomo said afterwards, I didn't mean to hit him, blah, blah, blah. And, he went through the perfunctory apology.
Here's what
Steven Wilson had a very different comment. Go ahead and tell us what Steven Wilson had to say.
Steven Wilson quote, "It was just supposed to be a fastball up. It just got away from me. You never want to hit a guy there. I'll be honest, I was hesitant throwing a fastball after that."
Steven Wilson, you could see, was shaken after that. He wasn't petty. He wasn't angry. He was shaken after that pitch. You don't throw at someone on purpose and then react by being, visibly shaken on the mound, by not being able to throw a fastball anymore. To me, that was a clear sign that he was not trying to throw up and in on Teoscar Hernandez.
I was watching the broadcast, the center field camera, Wilson had his back to the camera, so you don't know what he said or what his face was saying, but he was walking towards the plate, towards Hernandez. And I swear I saw Hernandez do something like I know, kind of put his hands up like, I know that wasn't intentional. And then they panned over to the Mariners dugout, and Julio Rodriguez was hot. The whole team was like on the railing. They were ready to go. And I also can't blame them at all, because if that happened to us, we'd be ready to riot. If Toddy hits a monster 2-run home run in the 8th inning to take the lead of a game that's been tied the whole time, and then Manny Machado wears one in the helmet, we would be ready to throw down.
However, and while I will defend Steven Wilson, I do agree with the take from our friend FBG Bakes, who tweeted last night after that hit by pitch, "Did you see how the Mariners were ready to fight for their hit teammate and then got all fired up and started scoring even more runs? That's so cool."
Mm-hmm.
That there is where the Padres may be lacking.
And I think maybe we just needed to see it with our own eyes, but that's what you, me, and Woodsy have been saying for the last week or so about having that fight in them, having that dog in them.
And while I think there was no intention, and maybe even the Mariners players, when they stop and think about it, will go, yeah, I don't think Steven Wilson actually did try to throw at him, but their natural reaction and instinct was, I've got to go protect my guy. Like, their adrenaline hit, and they went, right, I need I'm jumping out of the dugout. I need to be ready to protect my teammate. Have you seen that from the San Diego Padres this season?
When Manny Machado got drilled by Perdomo a couple weeks ago or last week, whenever that was, I do remember seeing Tatis. Tatis was like hopping over the railing. He was ready to go. I didn't really see anything else. And the Padres, it didn't spark some rally. They didn't go on a winning streak or anything like
Right.
that after that. And Mariners could lose their next 5 games for all we know. But they were ready to throw down. And whether or not they thought in that moment it was intentional, they all know baseball. They certainly now I'm sure they can go back and go, I don't think he was trying to hit Teoscar.
Yeah,
in that
it's not
situation.
about retaliation. It's not about, hey, your pitcher threw at mine, so I'm going to throw at your star. I don't agree with that. I don't like that. I don't think baseball should be played that way. And it's not necessarily about brawling, but it is about showing that you have your teammates back, that you play for them and they play for you. And that when the chips are down, whether it's a situation like that or whether it's simply our team's in a slump and a 4-game losing streak, the fact that you know that your teammates have your back and they will fight for you and they will protect you and they won't throw you under the bus because they are your brothers in there, that is something that is a concern with this team that I have not necessarily seen. And I believe it when they say, yeah, no, they all get along. They like each other. Yeah, I don't doubt that. I think the Padres do get along. But do they have that absolute like dog to protect each other from whatever comes around them? I don't know that they do. I have not seen that this season, especially from the San Diego Padres.
Yeah, and you know what? Saw it yesterday from the Mariners dugout. I don't think that's because Scott Service lit a fire under their ass or anything like that.
No. It's
Because
not.
that's been the criticism that you've heard from people like, well, they need a manager that's going to incite that in them. I don't think they do. They need to have it. It needs to be in them already.
And it's harder to do when your team is struggling. I'll tell you what, if the Padres were 15 games above 500, you might see a little more fire and passion of, defending a great season. It's a lot harder to get that energy to go to the defense on a team that's 5 games under 500 and reeling. It's tougher to create that passion, to create that sense of camaraderie on a team that's struggling. But that, guys, that's why you get paid and are professional baseball players. You need to find that even when things aren't going well. That's what you're getting paid for. A lot of people play baseball for fun. Woodsy does it. He has a lot of passion when he goes out there. He doesn't get paid at all. He can quit, though, when things aren't going well and it's like, hey, you know what? My hands are hurting and my adult league team stinks. I'm not going to do this again. You can't do that when you're a professional baseball player. You got to find it on the bad days. You got to find it when things aren't going well. And it's been missing from the San Diego Padres team. Let's relight the phone lines here. 833-288-0973. Took a lot of good calls in our first couple of hours. Relight them. We got Eno Sarris coming up at the bottom of the hour as well. He's got smart baseball takes. I don't know that smart is the solution right now for your San Diego Padres, but we will talk to him about it. All coming up here. Don't go away. It's San Diego's #1 sports station. Ben Woods, let's check traffic here on 97.3 The Fan. Gonna get back to the phones here, 833-288-0973. Ben, no Woods today. Paul Reindl with you on 97.3 The Fan. Marlins are struggling as well, badly. But I did see that one of their trade deadline pickups had a big game yesterday, Paulie. Josh Bell, 2 home runs for the Marlins yesterday, and they come from behind 5-4 win over the Reds, who are also struggling. Skip Schumacher got tossed, fired up his team yesterday. It's funny, the Marlins pick up Josh Bell, immediately becomes an impact player. Padres pick up Josh Bell last year. I think he hit like 178 the rest of the season. Make it make sense. Can someone make it make sense? I know you can say, well, the organization is doing something wrong. Some guy like G-Man Choi and Garrett Cooper haven't been here long enough to be affected by the Padres organization. Josh Bell and Brandon Drury, they weren't there long enough to have any like, oh yeah, they were staying. I mean, unless it's a curse, unless you walk in to the clubhouse and you walk under a ladder and a black cat as you walk into the Padres clubhouse and just immediately get cursed. Make it make sense. Why does Josh Bell go 1 year and do nothing after getting acquired at the trade deadline, and the next year he gets acquired at the trade deadline and is instantly a spark plug for the Miami Marlins? Make it make sense, people. Let's go back out to the phones.
I don't know what to say anymore. I really don't.
Sean, you are next up here on 97.3 The Fan. Sean, thank you for calling in this morning.
Hi, Sean.
Good morning. So why does it make sense? And is it the organization? Well, we've done this every year for the past, 3 years, where the entire team goes into a slump and everybody sits there and says, well, what? And well, it's got to be the hitting coach. Well, we've changed hitting coaches. That doesn't do anything. You told an interesting story last week of a pitcher walking up, a little minor league pitcher walking up to Bob Melvin, and he couldn't throw a bullpen because he needed the pitch cam, and he needed to know what his spin rate was, and he needed to know what was going on. We have a generation of players that is very dependent upon their analytics. And I really question our analytics team, because the other night when Seth Ligo got lit up, they noticed what he was doing. They noticed the tell. They said they didn't, but they did. And all of a sudden he was lit up. And it seems like that happens to us very often, where we're getting lit up, but our guys cannot figure out, because our analytics team is missing the tells or whatever it is. I just really feel like the entire team, the new players come in, they plug into our analytics system, and boom, they're in trouble. And it just seems like it is an endemic system problem somewhere in that analytics, that they are not getting the same information that the other players are getting on other teams, and they're lost. And then the other half of it is, I think we have enough players that like to hit home runs, that as soon as we get a runner on base, they want to hit a home run and bring them in, and they're just overswinging themselves. And the only answer that we seem to get is, well, they're professionals. They'll figure it out. They're a generation that was raised with people giving them those analytics, helping them. And if they're not getting the right information, it's very tough for them to work themselves out of it.
Sean, good call. I agree.
Can't disagree with anything you said.
Part of the reason I said at the top of the show this morning that no matter what happens these last 47 games, I want to see an honest, comprehensive evaluation from outside eyes, whether you hire someone temporarily or bring someone else in high up in the front office with Peter Seidler. No holds barred from AJ on down about how you do business. Someone who's seen it in other organizations, places where it's worked, where it hasn't worked. And honestly, the things that the Padres do well, I'm sure they do, and the things that they don't do well and where they need to improve, with no fear of like stepping on anyone's toes, like, hey, can't say this because I work for AJ now and I don't want to. No, I want someone who can come in with an honest and critical eye and give Peter Seidler like a full report. Like, we'll call it the Seidler Report. Here it is for you. This is what I have seen from the San Diego Padres organization. Do like, interview people like anonymously, one of those, you get that at the work sometimes, like, hey, we want feedback, but it's anonymous. So we can actually like make some improvements. You don't have to worry about your job or this getting back to your boss or something. We want honest feedback. What do we do well? what do we not do well? Get everybody in a room on a Zoom call, like one by one, and get someone who can put that together and honestly assess where the San Diego Padres are. I'm not in there. I don't know what it is. Fans, you're not in there. You don't know what it is either. My fear is that neither does AJ Preller or Peter Seidler or Bob Melvin. They also don't seem to know what the problem is. So someone needs to go in there and figure it out and identify what's going on.
I like your idea there in bringing somebody in that can give you that analysis. The name is Theo Epstein.
Sure.
He's out there.
Sure. You
have no problem opening up the checkbook, write his name on a check, do not put a number, hand him that blank check.
Yeah.
What's it going to take? Come in here, and I don't know if you got to reshuffle your titles in the front office and make him the president, the vice president,
if he doesn't want the job full time,
advisor,
and he may not want the job, but maybe you can convince him, hey, can you come in for 3 months and do this for us, and we'll give you $10 million just to
that's the guy,
just to do it, just to say what's what in our organization.
The Padres do? That is something right now that you can go out and do. You don't have to go steal him from another franchise. He's not the president of the Mets or anything like that. He's out there,
and if he doesn't want to do it, find someone else. There are other people in baseball who
that's
can
the guy with the proven track record.
Look with a critical eye. Let's go to Alfredo before the bottom of the hour here in Eno Sarris. Alfredo, good morning. Welcome to Ben and Woods.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Not great.
Hanging, yeah. You know the one thing that the Padres are really, really good at? Making other pitchers look like Cy Young winners or future Cy Young winners. Seeing how good they are at making arguably one of the top 3 players in the game in Tatis look flail, like miserable in the plate. Soto not doing anything, Machado not being able to do anything, Sander not being able to do anything, and it's kind of like it just makes you think like what Elsten said. I mean, baseball is stupid and nobody should watch it, but guess what? I'm still gonna watch it.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm gonna hate watch it for the rest of the season. And then I'm still going to kick and complain and everything in between. And then next season, it might be the complete opposite of what it is now with the same lineup because we have it for the next 10 to 11 years. And maybe next season, they're going to win all of these games that they didn't this season. And I have no idea why they're not hitting the ball or why Tatis is hitting the ball really damn hard and it's going into somebody else's glove.
Alfredo, it's going to be an interesting offseason because there's not a ton the Padres can do. They could fire AJ Preller and bring in a new GM. There's not much a new GM can really do. They are locked into a lot of players and a lot of contracts, and they'd have to spend a ton of money just to bring back the players that they have right now.
A new GM or a new president of baseball operations can at least change the tone that is echoed throughout the organization.
Maybe, but you can't change the players. So ultimately, they're going to have to figure out a way to win. If they're going to win, it's going to have to be with the majority of the guys who are currently in there. So it's less about the moves you make and more about what you're doing internally, I think, this offseason. Now, we can talk about the dramatic things that they could do. Trading Juan Soto, in the offseason. Now, he's been your most productive player. Rarely do teams get better by just trading away their most productive player for minor league prospects. That's
really sucks.
That's usually called a fire sale, and it goes the other way.
Yeah, with all of these long contracts and all these superstars, the 2 best players on the team this year are not on
what is available
contract
to them, though. That's a conversation we're going to have going forward in the long term. In the short term, we will talk to Eno Sarris. He's walking into a bit of a bonfire this morning. We'll talk to him next on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. This hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by Cars.com. Whether you're looking for the perfect summer road trip car or something you can zip around in, visit Cars.com today. They have over 2 million cars for your 2 million summer possibilities. Head to Cars.com. Check out the possibilities. Cars.com. Where to next? What did I say earlier this hour? Make it make sense. That's usually what Eno Sarris
We've
does
asked
for us.
20 times this year. Make it make sense.
Very hard to do with these San Diego Padres. We get to our Smart Baseball segment with Eno right after this check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad Traffic Center, part of the Premier Auto family, here's Kelly Danick.
South 5 Coastline before La Costa. Tow truck is on scene helping to clear crash involving a couple vehicles out of a fast lane. Also traveling on the westbound 8 just before Lake Murray. We have reports of some metal debris in the right lane. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Now, favorite open of the week. Let's go out to our Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline, and maybe we'll just talk sandwiches or something today with Eno Sarris because baseball is supposed to be fun, Eno, and right now for the San Diego Padres, for fans, for players, coach, it's not very fun right now for the Padres, Eno.
You said that so attacking. It's supposed to be fun,
Make it make sense, Eno.
Yeah, what does the fun graphs
Come
look
on,
like for the
Eno.
San Diego Padres? It's very low right now.
Yeah, I could still tell you that there's a 30% chance of making the playoffs, but I don't know.
30%. That is.
It was 40 2 days ago.
It was, but 30% is something that actually does happen. Well, almost 1 out of every 3 times, if my math is correct there. Certainly doesn't feel like the Padres have a 1 in 3 chance of making the postseason based on what we've seen the past couple of days. But I get it. I said earlier, though, as I've been watching this team, and, there were some very, very hard to take quotes last night. Juan Soto talking about guys who, just not competing every at bat. Not the giving up essentially too often, and the lack of consistency that we've seen all year. To me, there's an organizational evaluation that needs to happen. And I'm not the person who says everybody needs to be fired, but I think it's very important, and I would imagine you'd agree with this, no matter what line of work you're in, that you should always have someone ready to offer critical analysis, and you need to be ready to accept that. Openly in ways, or you'll never improve at what you do.
Yeah, and I think that's a really interesting thing. When they had their collapse, and Ken Rosenthal and Dennis Lynn and I wrote a piece about what had gone wrong. The kind of the response that we'd heard about was mostly a kind of a circle the wagons, and you guys don't know what you're talking about, kind of response. And I feel like, that can be the role of, announcers, like broadcasters, like people like yourselves, like writers, media in general, can be not only accountability, but like almost consultants in a way, so outside consultants that can say, this is what we see. Because sometimes when you're in something, you're like, oh, we're doing everything right. We all agree with each other. We're working together. We're listening to each other. We're looking at the research, and we're putting together a good team. It just didn't work out, But from the outside, people can point to certain things. And the toughest thing in the world is to listen to criticism. It's really, really hard, because it's just so tough to like think that you might have done something wrong, and it's easier to circle the wagons. I see it all the time on Twitter,
I know people, I know you and
do it.
other people that are in your line of work who look at, baseball statistics analysis, have sometimes been hesitant to go work for organizations because they don't know whether or not they will be listened to once they get there. Are you hiring me for show, or are you hiring me because you really want to know what we have to say, even if it points out something you don't want to hear? How much of that have you kind of encountered from either yourself or other people that who are into these numbers and have spoken or even worked for Major League Baseball teams?
Oh, 100%. That is a number one thing for people in analytics. And that was part of, what we uncovered, in our analysis of that decline for the Padres was just not listening to the analytics side as much. And AJ has a real great background in scouting. He's good at it. So, maybe that's just his natural proclivity. But, if you want to see where it could be worse, the Rockies, their entire R&D department has quit en masse twice in the last 3 years. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, twice the entire R&D department was like, nah, we're not doing this. And it was, it's a combination of not being listened to, what you're asked to do, and what it's like once you actually get inside, because they can tell you during the interview process, oh yeah, we're doing a real big commitment to analytics. We're doing a big commitment to this. We're gonna get our player development out in front. And then you get in there and they've got a bunch of old school coaches. They're like, look at this new nerd they hired. Like, I'm not listening to this guy. He has no idea what he's talking about.
You say not listened to. You say ignored by the players, by coaches / front office.
I think, in our reporting, there was some front office stuff where, we had some reporting on like Ryan Weathers' pitch shapes. Like they knew internally that from things like Stuff Plus that Weathers probably wasn't ready for the big leagues. And the team sort of just rushed him along anyway. Maybe that was also just a lack of alternatives, but it does speak to the player development process and maybe how much they're listening to their analytics people. But I think the toughest thing is, great coaches are actually in short supply. They deserve more money than they get. It's like sort of great teachers, and the better organizations pay them better. And so there's this gravity of great coaches towards certain organizations, and every other organization has to either pay better or spend a lot of time finding those great coaches, and just being kind of a feeder school. If you're not going to pay as much, then you need to find the next new great one. Some kids coming up through the college ranks or this or that, and figure out where the great coaches are, or you pay them better. So I'm not necessarily saying, I can't say that I've looked comprehensively at the Padres' entire coaching staff all the way down to the minor leagues, and I'm pointing my fingers at that. But that is something that happens in organizations when they're trying to improve player development. It's hard to improve coaching staff. If you think about it, you've got like, how many affiliates you got? You got 6 or 7 affiliates, and you've got 5, 6, 7 coaches per affiliate, and that starts adding up. Then you have pitching coordinator, hitting coordinator, roving coaches. So you've got 50, 60, 70 coaches, and they're leaving, and some of them are bad, and you need to figure that out, and you need to be able to kind of move on and get new ones.
Yeah, good points from Eno Sarris. We can't see it necessarily as fans or media members. I'm not in Fort Wayne. I'm not in San Antonio. I'm not in talking to the minor league coaches. It's up to the organization to figure out why they've had trouble developing players, why you see so much progression. But all I'm asking for is a willingness to listen and maybe bring in someone with a fresh set of eyes, critical eyes, that's not afraid to speak their mind and ask tough questions. That's what I'm looking for going forward. Talking to Eno Sarris from The Athletic, our weekly Smart Baseball segment. You wrote about an interesting topic this week, the return of the steal at third base. Ha-Seong Kim did it once out of his 3 steals yesterday. It's something that had almost gone away in baseball, in recent years, and it's making a big comeback. And you say it's more than just the bigger bases.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the bigger bases and the rules on throwing over caused the new and old school to kind of look at third base differently, because in the past, new and old school both agreed don't steal third base, because the old school adage is don't make the first out at third base, right?
Or the third out.
or the third out, right? So basically, don't steal third base most of the time, right? And then the new school adage was, hey, you've already got a guy in scoring position. Why would you risk anything to put him in scoring position again? You know what I mean? Like, that was kind of the thinking, I think.
The law of diminishing
Now,
returns.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, how much more in scoring position you want him to be. But, I think what happened was one coach pointed this out to me. If you look at throwing, if you look at pickoffs and throwing errors at second base, you get 1.6. We can call it 2 if we want. 2. You get 2 pickoffs for every error you throw into the outfield. And you've seen that a million times. The guy does the wheel, he turns around and throws it to second, or he does the inside when he tries to throw it to second. They try to do a pickoff, the ball goes into center field, and the guy gets third anyway. And so when they looked at that and they said, whoa, over at first base, we get 5 or 6 pickoffs for every error.
Error where someone advances, yeah.
Yeah. So you take that and you say, well, for every third pickoff, I just get a free base. And then they started looking at percentages, and the percentage likelihood of stealing third base has always been higher than the percentage likelihood of stealing second, because you don't have a fixed defender out there. There's a whole bunch of reasons. The runner is looking right at you, is right next to you, looking at your move. So they get a really good look at whatever you're doing. And you have the second base and the shortstop have to run over to the base to get the throw. So, there's been this kind of, looking at that thing with fresh eyes, looking at third base with fresh eyes. And we've matched in July, how many attempts we had at third base, last year. So we done that by July. So we're going to maybe double, how many attempts we had at third base. And some teams, are just going through the roof on it. And the success rate is 85%. I mean, 85%. Can you imagine going to a casino and there was a game you could win 85% of the time? 85% is like a number nobody's ever heard of.
Can I go off on a tangent here just for a second, Eno, based on what you just said? Because I think this applies far beyond baseball and really in everything in our society nowadays. I'm getting a little philosophical here.
Oh, boy.
But you just challenged some conventional wisdom right there, because my logic tells me that stealing third is harder than stealing second. Because why? Well, it's a shorter throw for the catcher. It's only 90 feet away as opposed to going all the way across the diamond. And, it's going to be much easier to steal second base. But when you challenge conventional wisdom and you look at something and you're open to the idea that what you think, or what may even seem like it's very obvious to you, may be wrong. I think that's important for all of us in life. We make these assumptions and then we never change our minds about things. Whatever it is, it's our work, it's our politics, it's our religions. We make decisions early in life, and no matter what evidence we are presented with down the road, we will never change our minds. And to me, one of the most important things you can do as a person, as a member of society, is at least be willing to listen to evidence. And when that evidence does not jive with your worldview, be willing to change your mind at some point. Too philosophical for a Thursday morning?
Well, no, there's the whole idea that as babies we encounter everything. We're like, look at what is dirt, what is rock, what is this, what is can, my God. And then over the rest of the course of our life, we're like, okay, I know what a can is, so I don't have to think about that anymore, And we kind of just categorize things, and we're just like, all right, I don't have to look with wonder at my laptop. I'm just going to open it and turn it on, And so, there is the just this idea that if we can look at things with fresh eyes, and I went to a baseball game on mushrooms.
Is that our true statement?
Yeah.
How did it go? This is a Woods topic. I'm sorry he's not here today.
No,
he would jump into this conversation.
Perked up a little bit.
So he's probably calling in right now, wanting to chime in on this conversation.
It was wild. And the only thing was, it was so weird. I was I was like looking at everything, being like, this is so strange. One of my friends said to me, so your job is to watch like kids, because we were at like a high A game we were in Vancouver, we were at a high
So this
A
wasn't the game at
and,
Petco
like,
Park where I saw you with your family then.
No. We're at a high A game. They're like, dude,
A very
is this
high
little
A
creepy?
game.
Your job is to watch 16-year-olds. Like, this is weird. These guys are kids. And I'm like, well, yeah, that is a little weird, actually.
That's
But
fantastic.
just the idea that, like, try to look at things with fresh eyes, try to, question your priors. I come in here to talk about Stuff Plus all the time, and one of the difficult things for me is I think it's a really valuable, really powerful stat, but I don't want for all of my pitching analysis to look through that lens.
We don't know everything about the universe, and we don't know everything about baseball. There will be discoveries made about both as the future goes on, and we got to be open to them if we're ever going to learn and get better. And that's what I'm asking from the Padres, honestly. I felt it, what you said earlier too. If there is and I like AJ Preller. I think he wants to win. He's competitive. He's a great scout, like you said. If anything I've sensed, I do think there's sometimes a reluctance on that part of the organization to listen and to potentially change. And it can be very hard. So that's kind of what I've been asking for this morning, and feel like you're backing me up a little bit.
I mean, the one other thing you can say from the outside is just like, they've changed the manager, they've changed a lot of people, personnel and player development, they've done a lot of stuff. And as that stuff doesn't seem to fix everything, your eyes wander higher on the masthead. I mean, it's just fact.
It is. Good stuff. I'll let you and Woods continue your mushroom baseball discussion at a later date. But
I know what I'm doing next time I go to Petco
have a
Park.
good week, sir, and we will talk to you again next Thursday.
All right, thanks for having me.
Eno Sarris from The Athletic on 97.3 The Fan.
Eno Sarris, sponsored by 7 Mile Casino, featuring all of your favorite table games like California-style blackjack, poker, and baccarat. Just 7 minutes from the ballpark.
All guests on Benno Woods appear on the Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. Save money the right way with Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Visit them today in the Carlsbad Auto Mall. Chevrolet, find new roads. Watching baseball on mushrooms. Obviously, I've never done it. I've never done mushrooms. I know Woods wants me to so badly. So badly.
Spring training.
Maybe the Padres
should
should all play tomorrow's game in Arizona on mushrooms.
I don't know about that.
You don't think that would be helpful?
I don't know about that. No, I don't think that would be a good idea.
Not a performance enhancer necessarily.
You'd see like Tatis would just be out in right field. Get those lights.
What is that fan wearing? That's an amazing
I don't think we
outfit
need that
out there.
But that
incredible.
could be a very good coping mechanism for the fans, myself included.
I think Woods, when we do our next, YouTube member viewing party,
Now we're talking.
At least Woods needs to try it and give us. I need full Woods maybe on mushrooms. I know he wants me. I don't know if I'm ready to take that step yet. All right, we got 1 hour to go. We'll get more of your phone calls coming up. 833-288-0973. Paulie's got a Reindl report. Something good happened in the San Diego sports scene last night. I can tell you that. Find out next on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. I always like to point out positives. It's really hard to do it. We talked about Juan Soto's quote. Welcome back. Final hour of Ben and Woods on a Thursday about how the give up that he saw on the team. Jake Cronenworth didn't see this one from last night from Kevin Acey's newsletter this morning, was asked about Juan Soto's comments and how the Padres can, basically when something like that can happen in last night's game. Jake said, it shouldn't. We're a better team than that. We just played flat tonight from pitch one. I understand. Baseball is 162 games. Every team's going to play flat once in a while. It's unavoidable in a long baseball season. It's not the problem. Problem is that it happens far too often for the San Diego Padres.
Yes,
it's not
at horrible times.
It's not fair to criticize a team when they come out flat, on the 14th game of 14 straight days on an East Coast road trip, and they looked a little lifeless out there coming off a doubleheader the day before under a 100-degree sun. It's going to happen once or twice a season for every team. It's not that. It's the fact that it's happened regularly, far too often, every fifth or sixth day. That's the problem.
I mean, what are we, 115 games in? Whatever the math is?
Yeah.
How many times have they not come out flat? Or have they all been clicking, I should say?
I don't know.
The opposite of playing flat.
I can't put a number on it.
5 or 10?
It's just far too many, for a team to have consistent success.
I'm talking how many times this year have they been firing on all cylinders?
Dodgers will be flat. Orioles will come out flat every once in a while. They're having a great season. It does happen. Oh, by the way, speaking of that, we got tickets to Padres Orioles Monday. Got a pretty exciting team coming to town. And hey, if you're going to go, you don't even have to pay to see that game. If you win the tickets, we'll do those coming up here in a couple of minutes. We'll do it my bit after the Reindl Report. Stay through the Reindl Report. Win baseball tickets coming up in just a couple of minutes here on Ben and Woods. But why don't we get to some headlines right now, Paulie, if you would, and get things started here with our today's edition of the Reindl Report.
Now tuned into the greatest.
Welcome to the Reindl Report with Paul Reindl.
Hi, Paul.
All right.
2 stories from the world of sports that we haven't gotten to yet.
We'll start off in Major League Baseball.
And 1 story that you didn't know you needed.
Are you laughing, biatch?
It's the Reindl Report
Hey, Paul, how you doing?
Okay, how are you?
on 97.3 The Fan.
Are you ready to bless the mood? I need some help, please.
That was good.
Can I get a yeah?
All right.
All right.
All righty, Paul.
Let's start with the San Diego team that did win yesterday.
Woo!
Loyal action.
Not just a win. It's a good win last night.
Good win. San Diego Loyal took down Loudoun United. A final score of 2-1. Loyal scored late,
twice. So they were down.
They were down 1-0.
1-0. It was scoreless at the half. Then Loudoun scored in the 55th minute. It was still 1-0 with 5 minutes to go. And in the 86th minute, beautiful crossing pass. Grant Stoneman to Blake Bodley, headed it home, tied the game, and you go, wow, they stole a point there. 90th minute, Blake Bodley, perfect pass to Evan Conway, headed that one home. They stole 3 points last night in the standings with a 2-1 win. I mean, it's harder to come back from a 1-0 deficit in soccer than it is from a 4-0 deficit in baseball, right? Late to win.
Oh, yeah.
Score twice like that.
Yeah.
Padres could use a little inspiration from the San Diego Loyal on late comebacks.
It's like an 8-inning, 9th inning.
Like
8-run,
6-run rally or something late in the game. Very nicely done by your San Diego Loyal. They'll be home again on Saturday night, continuing a nice little long homestand here.
Memphis on Saturday night at USD to watch the Loyal. Next up, we'll go a little basketball here. Ben, your beloved Steve Kerr. I haven't caught up with him.
He's busy right now. He's coaching the U.S. men's national team. They've got the the World Cup of basketball or something. He's got Team USA. He's replaced Greg Popovich. He's the new coach, and they just had their first like tune-up game. Went well apparently against Puerto Rico a couple of days ago.
Well, Steve Kerr has been in the news, and that's because the Warriors announced this week that Steve Kerr's son, gotta be very careful here, Nick Kerr,
Nice pause.
Nicholas Kerr,
USD basketball player.
Steve Kerr's son, he has been
Kerr.
announced as the head coach of the G League Santa Cruz Warriors.
Who are they a G League team for?
The Santa Cruz Warriors.
Let me think.
Give me one guess.
They are the Philadelphia 76ers G League team.
No.
No.
They are the G League team of the Golden State Warriors. In
all right.
fact,
Keeping it in the family.
they
then.
also could just be called the Golden State Warriors. They're in Santa Cruz, but yeah, Nicholas Kerr is now the head coach of their G League team.
And he's been an assistant and done some other things.
Following in
but,
Dad's
yeah,
footsteps.
Keeping it all in the family.
All right. And then finally, Apple made an announcement this week. As they tend to do this time of year, they're getting ready for the big unveiling of all their new phones, iPads, etc.
What are we? Are we on the 15 iPhone coming up?
Coming
What
up
is
to
it?
16. I
16 already. Wow.
Maybe the 15. I don't know.
I think I've got a 13.
But they're going to be, look, I'm saying this because I know there are a lot of Samsung and Android users out there who will defend their phones to the death, but I don't know, 80-90% of the people that I know at least all use iPhones. So if you are an iPhone user, this could be news you can use. Apple's updating their iOS software once again for their iPhones, and somebody pointed out,
Is that the thing that I have to plug in my phone overnight and then will automatically update? I get that notification.
yeah, it's the big,
every
it'll
once
be
in a
the
while.
big like software update,
Yeah, it's like
and you're gonna have to make
software
sure
update
your phone
available.
is,
Make sure your phone is plugged in overnight, so
you're
it
gonna have
will
to make sure it's
automatically
all in
update.
there it is. iPhone sucks all over the chat. It's the ongoing civil war between Android users and iPhone users.
So my family, 3 of us are iPhone people. My son is a Android person.
I mean, almost everybody
Yeah.
uses an iPhone. That's why we're talking about it. So with the new
And
software
I think
update,
he thinks he's better than us.
there's
too.
a very, they always do.
Yeah.
There's a very small but possibly significant change coming up in the new the beta version of the new iOS software. I'll pull it up on the YouTube chat if you're watching us on the YouTube.
I am.
Do you see, you know where the home the
Whose number is
end
that,
call,
Paulie?
I don't know. Yeah.
Let's call it.
You know where the end call button is?
Yeah.
They're moving it, and in its place is going to be the FaceTime button. So you have your options are mute, speakerphone, add a call. You can change your phone call to a FaceTime call. You can end it. You can open up the keypad. They're moving things around. So now your thumb, that's typically wherever the end call button has been, you might accidentally press a FaceTime button. And I think that's going to cause a lot of issues for people.
Possibly. So the new you can't see it if you're listening, but the new end button's much closer to the right side where your
All of
thumb
the
is.
options used to be up on the top, and then there was just a big red button by
Hang up
itself.
button. Yeah, the hang up button.
Now they're going to make that hang up button part of those 6 options that you have. They're moving it around, and I think people are going to be making a lot of unintended FaceTime phone calls.
Is it going to fix the problem that I always have? Is that somehow my cheek always hits the mute button? So
I've done that.
I'm always talking, and then all of a sudden the person can't hear me, and I don't know why. And then I look, and oh, somehow the mute turned on from my cheek. To me, that's the biggest button positional issue with the iPhone is the accidental muting in the middle of the phone call.
Yeah, I have done that many times, but still beta testing. Maybe they'll change that back after a bunch of people are like, I did not mean to FaceTime that person. I thought the phone call was over.
It's horrifying. I mean,
that would be not fun.
It's to me one of the most horrifying things is to accidentally FaceTime someone. I mean, like scramble, like in a panic, like
You
to
hear
hang up,
the
hang up, hang up, hang up. No. I wasn't trying to FaceTime. They must think
I'm kidding. Sorry,
they
no,
must
no.
think I am an absolute lunatic that I just tried to FaceTime someone. Woods does it all the time. He FaceTimes Hannah and the kids like every single day. He's sitting over here FaceTiming. I don't think I FaceTimed my wife once in my life. We're fine
I do
just
FaceTime
talking
like when
on the
I'm
phone.
out of town. I'll FaceTime.
We'll just call like
Megan,
normal people.
but
Just talk on the phone.
Yeah.
I know what she looks like. She knows what I look like. We don't need to see each other in the middle of it's a phone call. audio communication is more than enough for me. Thank you very much.
People in the chat are like, I'm calling that phone number that was up there.
Droid users are better
my
than
number.
iPhone users. Sorry, Ben, your son is better than you. Well, you always dream of your children exceeding you. So I guess that's okay. It's funny. He's at jury duty right now. I've got jury duty tomorrow. It's one of the reasons why we're going to be off tomorrow. I just got one of the most backhanded compliments I've ever seen. And I don't blame this guy. He's been a longtime listener and emailer. Don, you know who you are. The title of the email, the subject line, Paul, is "You guys were listenable today."
Okay.
That goes into the backhanded compliment Hall of Fame right there.
Why don't you should forward that one on to Woods. Hey,
Well, yeah.
hope your vacation's going well.
I mean,
buddy.
whether or not it has anything to do with Woods or not, it's still a Hall of Fame backhanded compliment.
That's how I take it. I take that as a direct shot at Woods.
Oh, I'm sure he would too. If I know Woodsy, and I know him pretty well, he will definitely.
So give me that guy's
That's
email
right
address.
next to. I'm a Ben fan right there. Is you guys were listenable today.
You know, we got a minute before the break. We wanted to bring this back, and I guess this is as good a time as ever. The highlight of yesterday's show, and this actually angered several people. We had plenty of comments saying, "Can Woods go one day without mentioning his kids?" I don't know how you could listen to what we're about to play and have anything but a smile on your face.
I loved it yesterday. It was so fun.
Did a little radio games with Bo and Taylor, 5 and 3?
Yeah,
in
they're
studio.
the best. They're the sweetest little kids.
And we did this last year with Bo, but this year, yesterday, it was Taylor's turn. Threw him up here, gave him his headphones, and started having total control, a Taylor takeover of all of our sound drops that we use on this show. Taylor, you want to come over here and take my job? You want to press some buttons?
Oh, Bo did that before.
Go over there to Uncle Paul.
Got the
That was,
soundboard going.
That was all-time classic.
Here he comes.
You never know what's going to come up when one of the Woods kids takes over Paul's soundboard
You
here.
need to put on your headphones. Put them up. Can you
Oh,
hear
yeah.
that?
Can you hear me, Taylor? Hello, Taylor.
You hear that?
Can you hear me?
Take this right here.
Real quick. Give me a do damage.
Do damage.
There you go.
Turn Jay Cronenworth's season around.
Save that one, Paulie.
That was you.
He's dying right now.
That was you.
Do it again. Do something else.
I'm not a cat.
I'm not a cat.
No.
Cause I'm an island boy, and I've been trying to make. Oh, I'm an island boy.
What was that one?
Oh, from the Turkish bath towels.
I want to hear.
Oh, we're into the boings and kind of sounds now.
Look at his face.
Oh, hey.
What was that?
Play that one again.
Nuts.
Bo sitting here with his headphones on, and he got to hear himself, his own drop, and that just absolutely
I was tickled.
sent him.
That was very fun yesterday to have those kids in there. See, now we get them in small doses. It might be a little harder for Woods, who gets them in 24-hour doses. But
Maybe.
yeah, it was fun to see both of those boys yesterday.
Before we go to break, Baseball Nick, where is it? He had maybe the funniest comment our YouTube channel has ever seen. He says, if all 30 teams had a group chat, the Padres would be the one Android user ruining it for everyone.
There you go. There you
Not
go.
agree more.
All right, as promised, you got a pair of tickets for Monday's Padres Orioles game to give away right now. Be the fourth caller, 833-288-0973. Join the Padres as they start a 10-game homestand. Don't let your summer end by securing your Padres tickets today at padres.com/tickets. Let's see, you got the Orioles, then the Diamondbacks are going to be in for 4, and then the Marlins in for 3, including the Ha-Sung Kim bobblehead giveaway. Probably the one I think a lot of fans are looking forward to the most. The removable
helmet comes
helmet
off. It's awesome.
that comes up. That's Tuesday, August 22nd with the Ha-Sung Kim bobblehead giveaway. And this is a I mean, I think they have 13 straight days of games, including 10 straight at home. If they don't turn it around, that's a tough stretch. But we'll know, without a shred of a doubt at the end of that stretch, whether this team has any heart or not.
This is the season right here.
If this team has any heart, we'll see what happens in this stretch of games starting tomorrow in Arizona, 3 there, and then 10 at home. 13 games in 13 days. You want to show us you have heart? This is the time to do it. Over the next 2 weeks, you can tell us whether or not you have any heart at all in that San Diego Padres clubhouse. Back after traffic on 97.3 The Fan. Congratulations to Patrick. You are the winner of the Padres tickets for Monday's game against the Baltimore Orioles. Everybody else, thank you for calling in. You do have another opportunity to win, though, if you're interested in perhaps a sweet night at Petco Park. Grangetto's Farm and Garden Supply is teaming up with 97.3 The Fan to give one lucky listener the chance to win a luxury suite for 20 people to the upcoming game on Monday, September 18th versus Colorado. Visit 973thefansd.com/garden for details and to enter to win. It's been an interesting show today, to say the least. I wonder what today is going to bring. It's an off day on the road for the Padres in Arizona. Do you try to get away from it all and just completely shut down for a day? Is there something the Padres should be doing on this day? You know, they did a team meeting after last night. I have no idea if it's going to do any good at all. Not a big believer that team meetings are the fix-alls that I think sometimes fans can imagine that they're going to be.
Eyewash, I think.
Yeah, there's definitely an element to that. At the same time, just like in any line of work, if something's not going right, you feel the need to do something. You know, you have to do something. And a meeting is one thing that you can actually do and feel like, well, at least we're trying something, you know, to get things going again. But ultimately, a meeting doesn't drive in a run with, you know, a guy on second base. A meeting doesn't lock down an eighth inning when you need a 0 and you need a bullpen guy to step up. Those things have to happen on the field, not in the clubhouse, not in the preparation, not in the film room. You actually have to go out on the field and do it between the lines. And that, to me, is where the Padres, above all else, have failed this season.
I mean, if you had to really like simply point the arrow in one direction, it's your 2 through 4, 2 through 5 spots. They got to step it up. Machado, Tatis, Soto, and Bogarts. This team can only go as far as they're going to take them. You'll have days where they all have an off day, and maybe you get some production from Campusano, Grisham, somebody towards the bottom of your lineup. That's fine. But it has been way too consistently inconsistent with those 4 guys in particular. Every time they lose, you look at the box score and they're a combined 1 for 15 or something like that.
In many respects, Paulie, we ask the impossible of our teams. Right now, for instance, the Padres need to go out and have fun and get back to playing the game of baseball while also taking this incredibly seriously and knowing that, you know, if you are not locked in every second for the rest of the season, then you are going to be ripped for, months and months, if not years, for your utter and absolute failure of a season. But go out and have fun. You know, make it look like a game again. Because honestly, I can't even watch Fernando Tatis Jr. at the plate right now. Yesterday was painful to watch.
He looks as lost as I've ever seen him at the plate.
It was so hard to see that kid who we love so much go up to the plate and look like he is was a single A guy who had just gotten called up to the big leagues and had never played before. We know what he can do. We know how dominant he can be at the plate. He made the game look like a video game for much of his career. It was ridiculous how easy he made it look. And I've never seen him make baseball look as hard as he made it look last night against a raw rookie who was making his first major league start. It looked like it was reversed. It looked like Roger Clemens was going up against a rookie ball player from Arizona at the plate last night when Emerson Hancock faced Fernando Tatis Jr. Honestly.
Hancock. What are we doing?
2 hits, 1 run. Against a guy, again, whose last start in the minor leagues came against the Padres Double-A affiliate in San Antonio. They got 6 hits and 3 runs against him. You know,
they touched him up.
Guys who are 2 levels below the stars that you're employing.
This guy got touched up by our Double-A team, skips Triple-A, and shoves against the major league team. What are we doing?
Make it make sense. Make it make sense.
We said on yesterday's show, look, Logan Gilbert is a good pitcher. That doesn't mean I wasn't still incredibly frustrated with what I saw on Tuesday night, but he is a good pitcher. He's a good major league pitcher. And we said, we'll see what happens tonight. It's going to be a different tune if this team can't get it going against Emerson Hancock. And sure enough, 5 innings, 2 hits. just a fluke run, basically a completely manufactured run by Ha-Seong Kim and only Ha-Seong Kim, really, in that first inning. And he just dominated us.
The sad thing is that, while the Phillies did get a no hitter, the Cubs lost, the Reds lost, the Giants lost, the Diamondbacks lost. No one wants to go out and take this thing. No one in the National League. It was right there all along for the San Diego Padres. They got more than enough help.
No, it was
to get back into this race.
It was pretty depressing to watch last night. It was the top of the 8th inning. Matt Brash, former Padre, comes in and just makes your 2, 3, and 4 hitters just embarrassed you. You're like, this is it right here. 1-1. Let's go. And just like a hot knife through butter.
That's the reason why even though Eno, says, hey, the math says the Padres have a 30% chance to make the playoffs. Well, maybe that's because they have a 30% chance of Tatis, Soto, and Machado turning it around. They have a 0% chance of making the playoffs if Tatis, Soto, and Machado continue to put up 0 for 10s like they did last night. And what they've done the last 4 games, I mean, nothing offensively. When they're your 2, 3, 4 hitters, how do you win a game like that? Your only hope is, Camposano got another couple of hits yesterday, and they'll, Ha-Seong Kim can manufacture a run, but unless you're winning 1-0 or 2-1, thanks to, Campy running into one every once in a while, or, Ha-Seong Kim stealing 4 bases, you need your 2, 3, 4 hitters, whoever they are. They have to produce. They're all next to each other in a lineup. And if they're going 0 for 10, you're basically punting on 4 of the 9 at-bats at least during the course of a game. And then you're hoping for guys like Grisham, who is struggling again as well at the bottom of the order to do it. You can't count on those guys to come through for you every night. You have to have Tatis, Soto, Machado, Bogarts. Those guys have to come through for you to do anything you want to do, and they're not doing it. I mean, it's the one thing that I will give the coaching staff, Bob Melvin, a bit of a pass on. He inherited these star players. They were here. They were expected. They were signed to do big things. As a big league manager, you shouldn't have to worry about your star players going out and performing and being stars. Yes, you need to worry about the rookies you call up and making sure they understand what you're trying to do and, understand the signals and what's expected of everybody. And you need to make those decisions about the bullpen and strategically. You shouldn't have to worry about the guys that are being paid $30 million going out and performing every night. That's not on the list of manager checklist. Okay.
Right. It should not be in Bob Melvin's job description.
I need to wake up this morning and make sure my $30 million right fielder and third baseman and shortstop and left fielder all know how to hit still. That's not on the list of things that major league managers need to do.
No.
It's ridiculous. They need to do it. The players need to do it. We had
you're fired up.
Yeah. So was Craig Elsten this morning, a couple hours ago, very fired up. I'm going to just admit right now that without Woods here, I'm starting to run out of some steam. So we're going to bring back some of the conversation with Craig in our last segment here because it was really, really good.
He was as pissed off as he has ever been.
He was great. And I think it's better than anything I can muster in our last segment here. We can play my first segment as well. We could play back a lot of things. I am starting to, I'm starting to lose it myself here this morning. So we'll come back, wrap things up next with Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan. All right. We don't have to wait for the shoe to drop today. No game for the San Diego Padres. They will be back tomorrow, 6:40. Blake Snell on the mound against Ryan Nelson in game 1 of a 3-game series against the Diamondbacks. I'm okay if you still want to get excited about the team and watch. I'm going to be watching as always. Probably steeling myself for some more disappointment, but hey, they're nothing if not fascinating. Honestly, I mean, I'm very curious to see how they respond to what just happened yesterday, the last 2 days, really. But the team meeting, the comments, I mean, how they come out tomorrow night is going to be interesting, to say the least, right?
Got to come out. I mean, we're just a broken record at this point. It really is.
It's going to be interesting.
You got to come out. We need a strong performance from Snell tomorrow night. And really, even if Snell doesn't have it, I just need to see some life from the offense.
I mean,
for the love of God.
honestly, Snell is not the person I'm watching. They got a strong performance by Darvish last night.
Right, it didn't matter.
Strong performance by the bullpen the night before.
Didn't matter.
Didn't really matter. I'm watching Tatis, Soto, Machado, Bogarts. Those are the guys I'm really keeping an eye on, and to see what they do, because we get a lot of words from all of them. They're all accountable verbally in their own way about unacceptable. That was what Manny said.
Mm-hmm.
Got to fight more, with too much give up. That's what Soto said.
Heard too much of that.
Bogart's not good enough, I think, was one of his quotes. We've seen the accountability verbally, but what can we see out there on the field is what I am very curious about going forward. If you missed it, Craig Elsten joined us earlier, as spicy as we've gotten from Craig, and he is not afraid of being spicy. We're going to bring some of that back for you right after this check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad Traffic Center, part of the Premier Auto family, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by the all-new Premier Buick GMC of Carlsbad. Guys, not too bad of a wrap-up for our morning drive. Just a stalled car to watch out for on southbound 125 before the 8. That's in the center divide. Premier Buick GMC of Carlsbad with all new 2023 GMC Sierra 1500 elevation package trucks, $4,000 off MSRP, over 15 in stock to choose from. Stop in or shop online at carlsbadbuickgmc.com, a proud member of the Premier Carlsbad family of dealers. I'm Kelly Danick with Fan & Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Let's go out to our Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. There he is, Craig Elsten from 619 Sports, Padres Hot Tub, and the Crossing Streams podcast. And Craig, you've known me long enough that you've seen me once or twice hit my breaking point. It doesn't happen very often, but today it happened. And I don't know how much you heard earlier in the show, but I finally came to the realization, as optimistic as I want to be, and honestly, I said this as well, as bad as everybody in the National League is, Padres aren't out of it. I mean, they could still come back. They're 4.5 games out with 47 games to go. Even if they did, though, this organization needs a reckoning and an honest evaluation in the offseason. Even if it comes after a World Series parade, they need someone with a critical eye to go in and see what they're missing, because I've seen too many shrugs from the front office, from the coaching staff, from the players that don't even know what's wrong. They don't know what's wrong with this team. And that, to me, is the biggest indictment of the San Diego Padres organization of all.
Yes. First off, Ben, I agree. We're going to find some commonality here on the segment today. I will literally tell you, this morning I woke up, early, not like woke up, stayed up, but kind of woke up in bed around 4. I was thinking literally about this interview, this segment, and how my take was going to be, something's wrong with the Padres. Something is 100% wrong with this team, because you've been around this sport and many sports far too long, Ben, and I've been around this sport and many sports far too long. And there are some teams that will never play well, no matter who's on the roster, because they don't get along, because there is a chemistry issue, because there's a want-to issue with the team. And those are the kind of things you can never see from the outside. But you know what you can see from the outside? You can see a team in a desperate circumstance knowing that every game is critical and there's fewer than 50 games remaining, go up to Seattle and score one run. One run. And that run came only because Ha-Seong Kim is an awesome player. And he scored a Ricky Henderson run to lead off the game. Walk, steal second, steal third, come home on a dribbler. All Kim, all the time. There's something, I want to do some Brian Windhorst, you know? There's something wrong
going
with this
on
team.
For
in
those
Utah.
not listening, Craig did an outstanding, if you remember the meme that went around of Brian Windhorst from ESPN talking, what was the basketball? It was
Utah.
What's
Going
with the Utah
on in
Jazz?
Utah?
What is it? You nailed that one, Craig.
Thanks. I mean, what is going on? What did we hear today definitively? Juan Soto said, "We give up." The day before, Fernando Tatis, and I know it was in a different context, I'm being a little unfair, but nonetheless, he was asked about his struggles, and he said, "I don't know, I give up." And about 2 weeks before, Bob Melvin talked about effort, and that this team's effort needs to change. Yesterday, I saw Ha-Seong Kim get on base, steal second, and Fernando Tatis go up and have the worst at bat of his career. Change his stance, swing at 3 pitches off the plate, feebly strike out, trudge back to the dugout. This team has no energy right now. They have no excitement. There's no want to. And it's got to come from FTJ. It's got to come from Fernando Tatis Jr., and he's in the worst slump of his career.
I think you make a great point, and I had noticed that as well. Fernando Tatis Jr., as many guys will do when they're struggling, you start tinkering, and the changing of the stance just shows how lost he is right now. But it also shows you that they don't maybe have faith in their own process, and that is part of the problem as well, that they don't have faith that what they're doing is the right thing anymore, that maybe they're doing something completely wrong to begin with, Craig.
Seth Lugo on Monday is given a 5-0 lead, and a Dodgers team that is cruising to the division is doing the extra things to try and get to Seth Lugo when they get runners on base. They're working for one another. Even if what they're doing is ethically marginal, they're working for one another. The Padres faced a dude out of AA making his major league debut last night, and San Diego made it so easy on this kid. So easy on him, swinging at his pitches, going up there with no confidence, no game plan, nothing going on. And let's broaden it out now, okay? You said it. I want to say it too. I want to stay consistent. I said there's only one path for this team, and it's the reverse 2010. And I truly believe that. In 2010, the team kept playing well, way beyond where we thought they would, and then it finally came crashing down. The only way this thing turns around is if if we all give up on this team, and then 2 weeks from now they win, 18 out of 20 games or something. But what makes us think that streak is in this team? Every team in baseball gets hot for a week. The dumbest, most backward teams in baseball get hot for a week. This team has never gotten hot for a week. 5-1, 1-5, 4-2, 2-4. So what's going on culturally with this club? And the number one thing that just drives me nuts, man, is that AJ Preller made decades-long commitments to guys before ever seeing how they played together and how they interacted with one another. What if Xander Bogaerts and Manny Machado just aren't a fit? That's 11 years, and you're going to have to dig out of that hole. I do not believe AJ Preller has the ability to dig out of this hole. I think if the Padres have to completely revamp, someone else has to revamp them.
I'll give you the one reason that we can all agree on why the Padres will still go on a run the rest of the season. You ready, Craig?
I'm ready.
It's because they'll need one more run to get our hopes up one more time so they can dash them again. That's why they will invariably, at some point, climb within 2 or 1 game of the wild card and get us all excited
One
again.
game within 500.
Only to stomp on our hearts one more time. I think you'd think it's impossible at this point. I mean, we just have 5 times this year where I know our listeners have gone, that's it, it's done, it's over. and this is just the latest. Do they have one more time in them to rip our hearts out this season?
Yeah, I'm starting to truly believe that the destiny of this club is to, in game 162, win 19-0 to finish 81-81. And with like a plus 100 run differential.
And with as
finishing
bad as the
81 and
NL is
81.
right now, and finish one game out of a playoff spot, or lose a tiebreaker to the Cubs for the last playoff spot at 81-81.
Yeah, I mean, what else do we expect from this group? And obviously, Joe Musgrove, who's been trying, he's like the one guy on the team that him and Kim have been trying so hard all year long. And Joe Musgrove has tried so hard that he might have put his career at risk. Like literally might have put his career at risk. And I'm here to tell you, I don't want to see Joe Musgrove pitch again this season. And if the team sweeps Arizona and he thinks I got to jump in the hyperbaric chamber and buy myself a pet monkey and go to a shaman and figure it out, we're not going to see him pitch in 2024 after major shoulder surgery. Like, let's stop goofing around. And I'm so frustrated. A week ago, I came on this show and I said, let's ride. And G-Man Choi has 0 hits. Garrett Cooper has 1 lousy single. Scott Barlow's been torched for 10 runs. Rich Hill looks like Ryan Weathers, but 20 years older. Like, it's an absolute nightmare what's happened in the past week. But the biggest nightmare of all is Juan Soto saying, you know what, we just give up. And we all know it's true. We all know it's true. We've watched this damn team for 110 games, and we know it's true that this team gives up. They fold. Dude, the league is stunting on us. Joe Kelly goes up and in. I'm going to do a little Woods here, but Joe Kelly goes up and in on Tatis and then turns around and says effing B. And Tatis is like, ha, cool. Joe, Joe Kelly's really funny. It's Rodriguez robbing him of a homer and hiding it from everyone, and then catching Cronenworth and dancing around in the out. Teams are stunting. They're not just beating the Padres. They know all they have to do is tip the cow over and the cow falls down. This Padres team shows less than 0 heart. And until they show us something like that, why should we ever believe in them again?
Talking to Craig Elsten. Great stuff, Craig. And one more just little comment, because you talked about guys who are showing heart. Ha-Seong Kim, Joe Musgrove. I mean, Blake Snell he keeps bringing it when he's making his starts. I thought Yu Darvish showed some heart again yesterday. Scott Lewis, who we both know at Voice of San Diego, tweeted something this morning that I thought was very interesting, and I was kind of had my head nodding when asked about those comments about Juan Soto tweeting about him. He says, I don't know that it's people who are just giving up, they're just there for the paycheck. He says, when quitting happens, it's a defense mechanism. It's easier to cope with failure if you have chosen it. It's really hard to heart your way out of it. And yeah, I mean, it's the guys who have been struggling who now look like they're the guys who are now quitting. And it is a bit of a defense mechanism. Like, you get to the point like, I don't know what's going on. I can't figure it out. Just to protect myself, I'm just shutting down and quitting. And it does look like that's what's happening.
And it just has to be repeated. This is the most expensive team in Padres history by a country mile. This is the second most expensive team in the history of National League West baseball. The history of National League West baseball. And where are they? They are 5 games under 500 with under 50 games to play, and spent 100 games telling us, shut up, you. Don't you worry. Look at the back of the baseball card. Look at who we are. We're going to be who we are at the end, but they've never done the work to get there. And I just got to say, watching the Dodgers and the Mariners this last week, it's been so revelatory to see 2 teams. And the Mariners traded away guys. Did they lose heart? Did they lose fire? They've won 11 out of 13 or 12 out of 14 games. The Dodgers just keep on grinding. They show you what it means to be a winner in the league. Padre fans don't want to hear that. Stop losing to them 13 seasons in a row. So, something's rotten in Denmark with this Padres team. It's absolutely clear, and it's time for the words to completely stop. If you want to go sweep Arizona, fine, but I'm with you, Ben. I think it's just going to give us some more false hope. I'm really, really frustrated.
Good stuff from Craig. He appeared on our Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. Save money the right way with Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Visit them today. Carlsbad Auto Mall. Chevrolet, find new roads. Did you get the very subtle, maybe you're too young for it, Michael Jackson reference when he talked about Joe Musgrove's hyperbaric chamber and then maybe buying a monkey.
Yes.
That was a very subtle Michael Jackson reference.
I get it now, and I know the reference, but when I heard him say that, I just thought, well, that's something I can see Joe Musgrove just doing randomly.
By the way, we do have some quotes this morning from Joe Musgrove on his potential return this season from the UT. I'm going to try to expedite it as much as possible, but I've got one shot at getting this thing right and getting back to play this year. So if I push it and then I have to shut down again, there's no chance of throwing again this season. So I'm going to be really smart about how I build back. And Joe also was honest. He said still doesn't feel very good in the shoulder. Says a lot can change in the next 3 weeks, but pretty much feels the same way he did when they shut him down a week ago. So not any reason for optimism, and sounds like he knows better than to overly press himself to come back. And Craig's right. If something doesn't change in these next 2 weeks on this next homestand, next 3 games in Arizona coming up, there'll be no reason to bring him back. You will be looking ahead to 2024 and trying to get him healthy for next season when games will once again matter. So you gotta play pretty well these next couple of weeks to even give Joe the incentive to get back on the mound and do something. Otherwise, what are we doing here? It's just we're looking at next season.
Obviously, I don't want that to happen, where the season just gets thrown away and there's no point in Joe even trying to come back. I don't want to see that happen, but I also am kind of scared at the idea of them starting to turn the corner, as we've been saying for 5 months now, and then Joe rushes back. I don't want to see that. I've pretty much, maybe just as a defense mechanism, I've kind of written him off for the rest of the season.
Ultimately, as we wrap things up, and again, we'll be back on Monday. Braden is going to fill in for us tomorrow. He'll be in next with Coach as well, while Woods is on vacation and I've got jury duty. Ultimately, I go back to, and I'll stand by what I said way back in the open. The Padres, if you look back now over the last decade, during the A.J. Preller tenure, the aberration was a short 60-game season and a late season run in the playoffs last year. It's not this year. The aberration isn't the guys coming up short this year and failing. What we have seen is 2021, 2023, 2019, 2018. It has been a team that consistently comes up short over and over again. They need to, in this offseason, figure out why that is, bring someone in additionally to evaluate critically the organization and make some changes. And not necessarily personnel even, but just make some systemic changes and figure out why this keeps happening to this team over and over again. And until they do, you can't ever expect anything other than random baseball. Oh, yeah, we had a good month or two. It's fine. That's it. We're done for today. Paulie, great job. Woodsy, we'll see you on Monday. For everybody, I'm Ben. Have a great rest of your Thursday on 97.3 The Fan.